Welcome to the Ada K Show. I'm your host, Ada K, and I am a criminal justice major. I am also a deaf courtroom commentator, breaking down the gripping courtroom drama while providing full ASL interpretation, making justice accessible to everyone. Grab a cup of Java and let's dive in. Don't forget, comment, like, and subscribe. And if you love this channel, please become a member. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, this world's gone crazy even more. The Pawtucket mayor, if I'm saying it right, office said Monday that 2 people were unalived and 3 people were injured in a shooting at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena ice rink during a high school hockey game between 2 co-op teams. The names and ages of the victim are not immediately available, but the police described 2 people who were killed as adults. The people in the hospital were in critical condition at this time. The mayor said the shooter was no longer alive and that the police are not looking for anyone else. Police Chief Tina Goncalves said that it appears a family dispute led to violence. She stated that the police were still gathering information from witnesses at this very moment. Also, it appears that it was a targeted event. At this time, that may be a family dispute. I'm sorry, I'm gathering information as we are live. This is current and live. The Goncalves said that they cannot release the names of the victims, obviously, because they need to get a hold of course, all the next of kin and continue with the investigation. They may want to speak to the family, that make sure that the family is well as, oh, sorry, I've got someone who's calling me remote, and it's like, just stop. I'm live. Guys, if you call someone and they don't answer, don't call 10 times. Okay, we want to speak to the families and make sure that the family is well aware of what happened before we release any information publicly. The teams that were playing were Coventry, Johnston Co-op, and St. Raphael's Providence Country Day. Hold on a minute. It was urgent. Sorry about that. Providence County Day, North Providence, and North Smithfield Co-op. So it sounds like these are 2 Catholic schools, but could be mistaken. The shooting comes about 2 months after the gunman opened fire in a building at Brown's University in Providence. The unaliving of 2 people and injuring of 9. St. Raphael's Academy said, in quote, there was horrific incident with an active shooter. We have been told none of our SRA family was injured. Thank God. Covenant superintendent said all of the town students were accounted for and safe. We are aware of the serious reported incident at Lynch Arena in Pawtucket, where the boys hockey team was playing. The information is still developing, and we are actively working with the event staff and local authorities to understand the situation. End quote. We have been informed that the students are searched in multiple locations, and at this time, they are still working on confirming the status and the location of all individuals. The priority is the safety of their students and staff, and they are moving as quickly as possible to gather accurate information. End of quote. The message said said Johnston Public Schools stated, and I quote, "We have confirmed that our Johnson High School student athlete who was participating in the game is safe. So all participating athletes are safe at this time." We are also aware of another Johnston student who was in the audience, and that student is safe as well. At this time, to the best of our knowledge, no Johnston High School students were harmed during this incident. The RIPTA bus was being used in effort to reunify families. The Providence Bruins released the statement about the shooting. Our thoughts are with all of those affected by this tragic event at the high school the hockey game at Dennis M. Lynch Arena in Pawtucket today. While we wait for more details, we'll share our support with the community and commend the first responders for all their efforts. End of quote. You guys, this has got to stop. It's got to stop. It's unreal. It's unacceptable. Families, if you've got a family squabble, you don't do it at your you don't do it at the freaking games. That is not where you need to end your disputes. So let me share screen, play the video.
Been on the scene there where there is that large police presence. Nicole, what can you tell us right now? Continues to grow. There are police and EMS responders who are coming from all different parts of Rhode Island. As I told you before, as we were driving north to get to the scene, there were ambulances and police cars going south. There were also police cars who were passing me from behind, who were also coming north to respond here. There's Pawtucket Fire, there are ambulances. The yellow caution tape is continuing to move out from this stadium that we're standing outside here. It's the Dennis Lynch Arena. This was not a school day, as you've been reporting. So this was really, an extracurricular game or a scrimmage or activity that was happening here. It looks like there are police are waiting outside. There are young teenagers who are sitting in the back of their cars right now. It looks like there are, people have been watching on. There are observers who are standing outside of this fence that we're standing at right now. It doesn't appear that there have been people going in and out of that building. Things are at a standstill, at least for right now. We have been, of course, reporting from the mayor's office that one young girl is dead. There are 4 other victims in the hospital, and the shooter is also dead. We do not know the ages of the young girl or any of those other victims. The police presence here is not going down. More people continue to show up, fire trucks, ambulances, everyone. There aren't a ton of sirens, at least not right now. Again, that may change. This is a rapidly developing situation. That is really what we're seeing here on the ground. And I'll send it back to you to get some more information from some of our other reporters who are working in the field about what is going on as this continues to develop.
Yeah, Nicole, thank you.
Build savings faster.
I'm trying. Sorry, guys. Okay, that is where we are with that. That is done. We are now also in jury watch, verdict watch. I find it interesting that all of these people are all the attorneys are everybody is just sitting in the courtroom. They're not going anywhere. The jury has looked over information. So I'm going to skim back and I'm going to get some more information. This is your defendant. They've been sitting here quite a while. And we're not going to listen to the testimony all over again. Y'all can't, it's too hard to hear. But I do want you to hear the judge.
Just ask all of you. I got a message that you are done listening to the tape. Is that a consensus, or do we need to play the whole thing? We certainly can do that. Which one? That we're all done? Is that correct? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to show you the documents that you have asked for. And counsel, if you can make sure that the group that we talked about is what you want to submit. Is that it also? Or is that something different? Okay. I'm going to pass it around. And what we're going to do is start in the front row and have you all look at them and just pass them along because they need to be viewed in open court. And if you change your mind, everyone, and you need to hear the rest of that tape, just let me know and we will do that.
Yes, they are, Angela. I've got more on this shooting news, but I just wanted to let y'all see that while I get it lined up. Thank you very much.
Testimony, and that was the mitochondria DNA report. So I just want to make sure that that's these reports.
You may approach. Yes. For the record, these are 102, 103, 105, 163, 164, 165, 166, 167, 168. That sound right from the state? All of those?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Cruz, that sounds right from the defense?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give these to you all in a second. Take your time. Don't rush. And you let me know when you're finished. They can't go back with you again to the jury room, but you can look at them as long as you need to here in the courtroom. I also want to tell you this. I'm going to give you a cautionary instruction. And this is based on the fact that you have reheard some testimony in this case. The cautionary instruction is this. Please remember that it is important to consider the whole of the evidence that has been presented in this case and to refrain from giving greater emphasis to any evidence you may have heard twice. Thank you. Mr. Otero, if you will start with all of these exhibits, and I think we just start in the front row and take your time, and you all let me know when you're finished. And everyone be at ease until we are notified that the jury is finished. Thank you.
Okay, so now we are waiting for the jury. They were able to look at, I'm sorry, I'm getting all my windows in orders because I hopped on quick. Yeah, I'm wondering the same. But I'm sure that she's going to let them go for a while, but they cannot take this particular evidence back with them, and she's encouraging to look at everything and not put too much weight in the replay of the evidence. I'm kind of surprised they got a replay of all that evidence. I didn't know a court would do that. So we're going to go back over here to the shooting and play the beautiful footage.
Two victims, two people who were watching a hockey game, have died tonight from gunshot wounds. We also know that the suspect is dead as well. What Nicole had mentioned and was also interesting to me is that the mayor and the police chief did not confirm how the suspect died, but they did say that there was no police interaction with the suspect prior to his death. Or prior to their
So I would say red room and self-harm.
Death, because again, they also did not confirm the gender of the shooter as well. The details of regarding the victims have been very, very tight-lipped because they are hoping to obviously get connected with next of kin, make sure that families are aware of what's been going on before it's released out to the media. Obviously understandable. And so the details that people might be wanting to know as regarding the gender or age of the victims, that is still going to be, we're going to be waiting for that. They made it clear that we may not be hearing from them again tonight. We would be getting
Y'all, they're standing up. What's going on? Uh-oh, something's happening. They're standing up. Do we have a verdict? I don't know. Or they left the room. Okay, I guess they left the room. Okay, so the jury has gone back into deliberations. They have left the room. Give me a minute, y'all. There we go.
Hopefully a press conference so we can ask some questions tomorrow. But as far as the victims, we know that 6 people were shot. 3 people are dead, including the suspect and a young girl. And there are 3 people still in the hospital right now in critical condition. Sorry if you're hearing some background noise behind me. We are on a very main road. This is Barton Street in Pawtucket. If anyone knows the area, it is very hectic. Lots of cars. We're in the height of rush hour. But this press conference ended with a lot of information, but also a lot of questions. We're still wanting to know how exactly this happened. The police chief alluded to some possible family dispute that essentially erupted at this high school hockey game, but the details of what exactly happened, who is the shooter, more information on the victims, those are all question marks for us tonight, and we're hoping to get more information in the days to come. Back to you.
Leanna Falk live in Pawtucket as Patrice Wood joins me now. Obviously, as she mentioned, the big question there is the motive for the shooter as this unfolded. I know the police chief pointed out to it being possibly family related, a targeted incident. We do know that the 2 victims who were killed, she explained, are adults. I know the mayor's office had previously said that one of them was a young girl. So unclear exactly how old or the relation to the shooter who she alluded took his own life. She said it wasn't a police-involved shooting. It appeared to be self-inflicted. But again, this all needs to be worked out. We're waiting to hear more confirmation from authorities as their investigation now continues inside the Dennis Lynch Arena.
Yes, I'm very, very familiar with this arena. My son played hockey there. My daughter took ice skating lessons, and I'm sure many of you have been in that same arena right there in downtown Pawtucket. So when you walk in, there's one main entrance that you go in. And when you go in, there are stands on this side, stands on this side. And apparently this shooting took place, possibly a family dispute. The shooting took place in the stands. So the hockey players are okay, and it involved many different schools, 2 co-op teams, but we're told that the players are okay. We talked to a hockey player a little while ago, and he said that he was on the ice when this happened, and he heard popping, and he thought it was maybe balloons or something, but it was actually a shooting taking place right there. So it apparently was a family dispute, and some maybe 4 other people were caught in the crossfire, but in total, 3 people are dead, including the shooter. We want to go back out to Dan Janig right now. He's standing by live at the scene there in Pawtucket at the Lynch Arena. Dan?
Yeah, Patrice and Emily, I was actually just at that news conference where Leanna was. So Leanna is just to the right of me. This is Dexter Street, where Barton is, and we were just there getting the information which she passed along to you. They just put up some more of this yellow police tape here at the arena, and as you can see behind me, obviously still a pretty active scene. My photographer break and kind of bring us in through the sign pole here and some of the fencing here. This is an active crime scene. 5 hours ago, it was where families were coming to watch their loved ones and their kids play a hockey match, and now this is a crime scene getting national attention. Again, we have a total of 3 people who have died here this afternoon, and we know that the suspect took his own life. We clarified that at the very end of the news conference. There was some question as to whether or not that happened. I have a source that is telling me that it appears that a parent showed up here at this game today and may have been either targeting a child or a family member. That's the train, don't worry. But obviously this all happened in the stands, so it had nothing to do with the ice. So my sources tell me the suspect was targeting a family member. We don't know if the family member is the victim. We believe it could be, but authorities are still trying to work through that. My friend in Kellenker, Gene Valicenti, is here with me at this camera. He's coming in, working some of his sources too. We're really at the infancy of this, Gene, and we're trying to piece this together. What we do know, which is different than Brown, is the shooter has been neutralized. So there's kind of a different air here as it was at Brown.
Yeah, this appears to be a personal action. Family member going after another family member, we believed, and we yet to hear if that third person also a family member. So it's contained to that, tragic as it is, but it's not a random shooter coming in and just shooting up a place for one reason or another. Now, behind the stand is the arena. We're being kept behind this police tape, but I saw about 10 guys with ATF jackets. So the investigation is wide to include ATF. I also saw an FBI jacket and plenty of Pawtucket police and state police and a whole host of other authorities. We're about a block up from the busy downtown. The stores and everything where the streets get kind of curvy. This whole area is all closed. I'm going to say it must be 10 blocks cordoned off. Police a block away, police a block away this way. We're not getting down here, and nobody is getting around this whole perimeter.
No, this is a crime scene, as I just said. This is a crime scene, and they have to go through a lot of things, including footage. So like many of these games, this was live streamed. So there are people at home who also saw it. The chief just talked to me one-on-one as I was walking down here and said that there's so many facets of this. They have to go through the surveillance camera to figure out what happened. But it appears as we stand here right now, unlike Brown, unlike Lewiston, Maine, there's not an active shooter location. There's not a search. The killer had apparently taken their own life, and it appears it had happened in the stands behind the hockey team. And what happened is that they must have opened fire. We're also hearing stories of people who tried to tackle the suspect and take at least one gun away. We do know that the 3 victims in the hospital are victims of gunshots, and they're being treated right now.
So we don't know if they're part of the plot or whether they would just happen to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time. I don't know what number makes a mass shooting. Originally, this was a mass shooting. I don't know if that's more than 3 or more than 4. It would seem to qualify. But unlike other mass shootings where we just had a deranged person go in and shoot up anybody in front of them, if this wasn't a public setting, we would probably be reporting it as a quadruple shooting or a triple shooting or something like that.
We have a gunman. We have 2 victims that sadly have lost their lives. We believe one of them may be a young girl. and then we have 3 others that are recovering from gunshot wounds. Call it a mass shooting, call it what you want. It's a tragedy because this affects so many people. This isn't just East Greenwich versus Central Falls.
Right.
This was a co-op team, so it involves several students. And you can imagine, you have kids, I have kids, you go to sporting events, right?
Yep.
You have a coffee, way to go, right? And all of a sudden gunshots come out. And these kids are never going to forget this. The emotional repercussions here.
Well, for somebody who doesn't have a kid in sports, let's just talk about co-op. What does that mean?
So co-op is that you join a team. There's a team that you can join, and you can come from different schools and be a part of that team.
It's a league apart from the city high school league.
Yes.
As somebody who's really into hockey,
Right.
if you want to get a scholarship or you want to play hockey, you're going to be in a co-op.
Yeah.
Apart from whether you play for your high school team or
You're
not.
basically playing for 2 teams.
And these parents drive them all over New England.
It's a commitment.
So a co-op is separate from a high school team. These are people who are into hockey. They really, this crew is looking to get scholarships, things like that. They want to play.
But also, as you know, or if you're familiar with sports, hockey is a very close-knit sport.
Yeah.
My kids played sports. I know your daughters play some sports. Hockey is a close-knit community. Everybody knows everybody. So there are so many kids that left here. In fact, we just saw a car come back with kids with hockey uniforms on. This is a regularly scheduled game.
Yeah.
It was not a conference. Everybody's now sitting there saying, gosh.
Yeah. It affects the town they were playing. And
We're hearing a lot from them. We're hearing
all-
from all those towns basically saying, hey, we're here and we're safe.
all of these businesses were closed because people ran out of there and they ran into the closest friendly face. A bar across the street, there's a bodega around the corner, there's a drugstore. They just ran, scattershot and ran, and some of those business owners closed the doors and locked them, not knowing someone's coming behind them.
Yeah.
So it's quite a scene over here.
Yeah. Gene and I are going to separate for 1 second, just show you the scene one more time if we can, Gene. There's a line of police cars, obviously right here, outside. There's a crime van over there. But again, this is a crime scene. The police chief and the mayor just went back in here, and they're going through several different footage. They are taking these victims, or we're just here playing. And that's the other thing, Gene, is that there's such a ripple effect, meaning that, when you go to games like this, it's not just the parents, it's the coach, it's the grandparents, and then you have all these different players. So, think about this. What were you doing 4 hours ago or 5 hours? What was I doing, right?
Yeah.
Not thinking about this. Could you imagine you showed up here and all they were thinking about is winning a game?
This thing was being streamed live. So there might have been hundreds of people who were watching it. I understand you could hear the gunfire in the live stream. That at some point, I think either we have that or we will get that.
Yeah, we're working on that
at some point.
So I don't
That's
think
another element here.
this may not show that shooting because obviously it's
You
focused
could
on the
hear it.
ice.
I understand you could hear it from the live stream.
Yeah.
So, and if you're watching, you know there was a commotion. You know that certainly game stopped. Something's going on.
Yeah. So we heard from witnesses who were at the bench, and a colleague, an editor from a local newspaper was there, and they're watching the game, and all of a sudden they hear what they believe is balloons popping or something like that, and that's the gunshot. So the gunshots were. Here.
This is Rhode Island, a small place. Dan, I was passing on this very street just yesterday. I happened to be in Central Falls and came out to get to 95, which is down there. I noticed this big blue building to the left of us here, and I looked and I noticed the sign on the arena. Only yesterday. All right, listen. That Trome was telling us that they have that video now that we've been talking about. Just the live stream. Video of the live stream when this happened. Go ahead, you guys take it back.
Hand it back to Patrice and Emily.
Yeah, we have some video. I don't believe it's of the live stream, but this game was being live streamed. It was a game at the Lynch Arena in Pawtucket where there was a shooting today. 3 people are dead, including the gunman. And we want to take a look at this. We can hear the shooting. This is being live streamed today. Let's listen. And then you see the students getting off the ice. I'm very familiar with this arena because my son played here. They're going over to the locker because the lockers are on that side. So we had St. Ray's, we had Providence Country Day, North Providence, Johnston, North Smithfield, Coventry. And there we are blurring out apparently where the shooting happened, which was behind the Blackstone Valley bench. So everybody ducks.
You can hear how many gunshots go off, and you think about these players here. If you've ever put on hockey, whether you put hockey gear on your kid or you put it on yourself, you're fast on the ice, but trying to leave that building, you talk about how difficult it is to get out of that building, Patrice, and then imagine you're wearing all that hockey gear.
Okay, so they're skating over to, when they're exiting, the lockers are over there. To the right is the exit, but people aren't moving. They are ducking down because they don't know where these gunshots are coming from, but it's from behind them. And that is the Blackstone Valley bench. So it's coming from behind the Blackstone Valley bench. When people start to get out of there, they're going to be running to the right because that's where the exit is. The lockers are on where you see the players exiting over on the other side.
And the right we have blurred because obviously some gunshots landed there. Once again, we know 3 people are dead tonight after this, 3 more in critical condition, all from gunshot wounds. Horrifying to see these players just flee off the ice. We have a new statement now. This is from the North Smithfield principal. It says, "This is heartbreaking to hear about, and I know many in our community are feeling shaken by it. We have been in communication with the athletic director and coaching staff who were at the game. At this time, all of our students are accounted for and safe, including players and fans who attended. Reports are still coming out and details are limited, but our priority was confirming the safety of our students. Further updates will be forthcoming once we know more." In light of today's incident at the boys hockey game in Pawtucket, I want to share that members of our school counseling team will be available today. This was at 4:45 at the high school. We are shocked and saddened by the shooting at today's hockey game. We can confirm that the Providence Country Day students, parents, and staff that were present at the time are safe at this time. So NBC 10's Brian Crandall, he's been on the scene for quite a while, and he actually spoke to one of the students who you saw there.
That kid was
fleeing
so
the ice.
scared.
Unbelievable.
Brian?
Yeah, Emily and Patricia, we're on the backside of the Lynch Ice Arena here. As you can see, there's still a police presence blocking it off. Again, now that the situation, though, is well over. But just down the street from here is a convenience store, and some of the players ran over there after in a frantic scene. As you said, this was high school players, 2 teams. One of them made up of students from Providence Country Day and St. Ray's and North Providence and North Smithfield. The other was a co-op team from Coventry and Johnson. So those 2 teams, we spoke to a player from the Coventry Johnson team from Coventry. He was the goalie. He was on the ice when the shooting happened. But as you've been talking about, he didn't know right away it was gunshots. He thought it
at far side. So I was on the, like, where the Zamboni is. It was the far side of the building, on the opposing side's bench. Yeah, it was scary. It was a lot of shots.
How many?
Either about childcare or let their family know that they're staying later tonight. And I'm going to allow that, but I'm going to have the 4-person come out in just a moment, and she can give those instructions that they can use their phones for that reason. I'm going to remind her to remind them that they can only use it, of course, for those purposes and not for any research or anything of that nature. So that's what I wanted to just put on the record. Nothing, more extraordinary than that. But I wanted all council to be here, of course. All right. If you'll just knock on the door and ask for the 4-person, Mr. Terrell, thank you.
Okay, it looks like they're going to be staying. So we're going to be here a little while. Now, depending on how late, I may have to take this on the road because I have a friend who just got a car. I need to drive them to go pick up the car in San Antonio.
Need to use their phones to, I guess, to call family or make other arrangements. And so certainly we're going to allow that. But I'm going to ask you, since you're the 4-person, to remind them that, of course, they can only use their cell phones for those personal reasons, that they can't use it for any research, to do any Google mapping or anything of that nature. And I know you all know that, but I certainly just want to put that on the record and give you that task of reminding them of that obligation. But they can use their phones for that reason. Thank you so much. All right, everyone, we'll be at ease.
At ease, soldier. Just saying.
I heard 14.
Did you see where the people who were shot
I
were?
did not see. I did not see. I was so nervous. I went down and then I ran.
Smart kid.
And again, so that's Olin Lawrence. He was the goalie for the Coventry Johnson team. His mom was right next to him as he was talking to us, but she said it was the most emotional day of her life because she was there as well. The good news, again, is that none of the hockey players were hurt. As we said, unfortunately, 3 other people are dead, 2 victims and the shooter, and 3 other people are hurt. But as you can imagine, you've been talking about a frantic scene inside the rink as chaos breaks out and people start to realize what happened. And he said it took him a little bit to realize that it was gunshots, and then they took off the ice. As you can imagine, especially for a goalie, it takes a little bit to get there. They went to the locker room. He said they were in there about 20 minutes before police officers showed up inside, and he said that was a relief. Again, but there were other people who ran out and went to a convenience store down the street, again, as they went out the back of the arena. So just frantic moments. Again, we're hearing those statements from the different schools involved. There's 6 in all, again, with 2 hockey teams, both co-op teams consisting of multiple high schools with students from each. So just incredible to hear the story from on the ice. Again, we talk about, we have kids, we're at games a lot, and you just never want anything like this to happen, and just everybody kind of running for cover. Patrice, Emily?
Those students, the families, they are never going to forget this. And we have to also say that this was being live streamed. So there were potentially hundreds, thousands of people out there watching it. We have that video as well that we want to show you. This was at Lynch Arena about 2:30 this afternoon. You hear the gunshots. Listen. Wow. That kid was right. There were more than 15 shots there. This was a targeted event at Lynch Hockey Rink today. 3 people are dead. The chief says they were adults. This was an active shooting at Lynch Arena in Pawtucket where a high school game was being played. The police chief says it was a targeted event involving a family dispute. It's believed the shooter shot and killed himself. 2 victims are confirmed dead by authorities. Actually, 2 victims and then the shooter as well. 3 people are still in the hospital caught in this gunshot incident. Many of the victims taken to Rhode Island Hospital. You can see the players there rush off the ice. They don't know where they're going at first. They thought it was balloons. That's what they told Brian, balloons popping. And then you see them skate off towards the locker room, which is on the far side over there, because I know I've been in that arena many, many times for years and years. To the right is the exit. To the left is where the Zamboni comes in. But there, all the kids and the coaches, they jump out of the area where they sit and then skate across to the exit. But you see all the people on the benches, they duck down when the shooting happens. So nobody's really running because they don't know where these shots are coming from. Are they coming from the entrance? There they go.
Yeah, and horrifying to think about. If you're someone in this situation, do you flee out the back towards the locker rooms, and then half of them decide to flee across the ice? It's had to be the scariest moments of their lives. Absolutely horrific for these players. We mentioned 3 people still in critical condition at Rhode Island Hospital. NBC 10's Leanna Falk was at Rhode Island Hospital earlier today. Then she was at the press conference in Pawtucket. She joins us now with an update. Leanna?
Yeah, Emily, we are still trying to learn more about these victims. Now, what we know is that 6 people were shot. 1 of them was a young girl. The other was the actual shooter. And then there was a 3rd person that was pronounced dead when they reached the hospital. Which one, we're still unclear. But I was at Rhode Island Hospital. Mike Cerullo, our colleague, was at Miriam. We've reached out to both, and we're waiting for more information, hoping that they can give us an update on these victims. Now, during the press conference that wrapped moments ago, we know that they are trying to stay tight-lipped regarding the details of what exactly happened here, the motive, but also any identifying remarks regarding the victims. They are still hoping to let the families of these victims know, making sure that they are well into the loop before releasing anything to the public. Right now, where we are at the corner of Dexter and Barton Street in Pawtucket. You can see behind me, we have a Pawtucket police cruiser, which has been stationed here for the better part of 2 hours, as long as we have been here, and they are making sure that no vehicles are coming in or out of this area. We are about a quarter of a mile away from the actual ice arena where the shooting took place. So what you're looking at right now is Dexter Street, and if you walk right up over this overpass and then make a left, That is going to take you right to the arena where the shooting took place. That is where the police chief and the mayor walked down from before they addressed us. We've seen several members of the media heading into that direction. And we've also seen several members of the public heading in that direction as well for numbers of reasons. It is also obviously for people to get home. There are people whose homes are in that direction, but obviously the community wants to know what's going on as well. And so being curious and wanting to obviously pay their respects to the victims, they have been heading into that direction as well. And we are hoping to get more information again on those victims in the coming hours. The police chief made it clear that they may not be having or releasing any more information tonight, but they would be releasing something as early as tomorrow. We're hoping we get another update before then. But again, this is the scene here at Dexter and Barton, one of the main roads that's leading up to the ice arena. If you're heading in this direction, you can definitely expect traffic, your usual rush hour exchanges, but there are also several number of vehicles that are here because some of the roads are blocked off heading to and from the ice arena. So again, details limited as far as the any identifying remarks or details of these victims. We know that 3 of them remain in critical condition at this hour, and we are praying for them and their families. Back to you.
Leanna, thank you very much. Again, if you're just joining us, there was an active shooter at Lynch Arena, the hockey rink, where so many of you have watched your children play hockey, where your children took ice skating lessons. There was an active shooter situation there this afternoon. We know that 3 people are dead, 2 victims, and then the shooter as well. 3 people are in the hospital. We want to go back out to NBC 10's Dan Janig and Jean Valicenti, and we have been watching this video. This was being live streamed, so people at home were watching this as well, and it was so chilling to watch these players in the middle of a high school game suddenly hear the popping that they thought was balloons at first, and then they skate off the ice and go into the locker room, and people in the stands just duck down because they don't know where the gunfire is coming from.
Those sounds were chilling.
Now, I believe we've had 2 pieces of video showing the active scene to be the live stream, and then there was a separate one. And at some point then, I would imagine we're going to get plenty of video because people have phones on them. There's commotion in the streets. Either you're seeing this from across the street or you're part of it. So we're waiting for all of that. Also now, security video.
Right.
Are we going to see the shooter walk in?
Well, I mean,
was he carrying a gun? We're waiting for things like that.
Obviously, you know, that brings us back to Brown University. They didn't have security cameras, and you know, at this elite, you know, school on the hill there, they didn't have cameras. So hopefully this does, but that would show that would paint the picture.
Yeah, we're just about a block down. This is the way you would go to go into the arena. You get down the street, make a left. There's 2 ways to get in there. I'm going to imagine that arena has its own security cameras. I'm going to imagine there was a whole video crew in there. There may be other camera angles we've yet to see. That's yet to come. You know, it might be instructive now to go over a list of things we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know.
So we don't know the
relationship between the shooter and the 2 people he shot. We believe they were relatives, families.
Right, we have that on record.
Right, but we don't have the specific relationship. No. We don't have the names. We don't have where they were from. We don't have the motivation. Those are important things that we don't have. I suppose at some point we will get all of that. They've already held one news conference.
Yeah, and I at the news conference I asked the mayor, would they hold another one? Because you know what happens when we don't hear it from the source. Providence was really good about this with Brown. The mayor was really Mayor Smiley there. You don't hear it from authorities, then you start, you know, all these. It's kind of like the Guthrie case. I also want to give you our proximity. So this is Dexter Street right here, and as Jean said, it's blocked off for several blocks. You can see. I'll just walk with you. So it's all blocked off down here. So this is Dexter. If you go that way, that's Barton. That's where Leanna is, and that's where the press conference was. And if you go back that way, that's where Brian Crandall is. He's behind the arena. Now, a couple of things happened. We're watching these cars come out, Gene and I, because the last 2 cars that came out, it was actually players that were in the back seat with their parents. So we saw that. We also talked to a guy who was sitting right here to my right. He lives in these apartments, which is like an old mill building across the street, and he was talking about how he heard and he looked out and people were just running everywhere. Hockey uniforms, mothers grabbing kids, and we wanted to talk to him on TV, but he teared up.
You know, Dexter Street is the busy street. That's the main drag in Central Falls, and if you go south on Dexter, which is that way, you go through Pawtucket and you're going to get out to the interstate. So this normally on any night, this would be a busy stretch we're just off of. Today it's blocked off, along with, I'm going to say, 10 blocks around us remain blocked off. There are a ton of police vehicles here. ATF.
Three go in.
Yep. ATF.
Jurors that need to use their phones that are actually in their car. So I'm going to have the foreperson come out. I'm going to give them a 10-minute recess, ask them not to deliberate for 10 minutes. The persons that need to use their cell phone outside, they're going to be escorted by the sheriff's department for security out to the parking deck. They can use their cell phones and come back in. And so we're just going to be sort of, I think 10 minutes probably should do it. So anyway, that's why obviously I needed you all here. So if you could knock on the door, please, and have our foreperson come back out. Might need to be 15 minutes, but.
Yeah, I think it did hurt him not testifying. If you're really
Thank you, Madam
declaring your
Foreperson.
innocence.
Thank you very much for your patience. So this is just a matter of housekeeping, but we certainly want any jurors who need to make a phone call to be able to do that. My understanding is there are several that need to go to their cars. And so this is, okay, that's great. Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to take a recess until you all can make those phone calls and come back to the jury room. So your responsibility, thank you very much for being the foreperson, is to tell the jurors that they can't deliberate, right, until you all come back. And we're going to also have the sheriff's department escort you out to the parking deck and, make sure everything's okay. And when you get back in and you're all 12 here, you can start again. All right, well, I'll wait for y'all to come back out. Yeah, thank you.
FBI, local police. I imagine there might even be police from the community where this visiting team was.
It's funny. One of the first responders who is trained in active shootings in Providence was called here. Obviously, there was no immediacy because, unlike Brown, the shooter was neutralized. Now, we had a news conference a short while ago. The chief here in town is Chief Tina Goncalves, and let's hear what she had to say.
It appears that this was a targeted event, that it may be a family dispute. We cannot release the names of the victims because obviously we want to speak to the family, make sure that the family is well aware of what happened before we release that information publicly.
So that was Chief Tina Goncalves. She is now in the building. She walked by me and she was in plain clothes. Obviously, it's a day off, right? It's a holiday. So I want to go back to what we do know. We do know this. We do know that this was targeted. You just heard that. That's why there's kind of a, I'm not going to call it calm, but it's not like Brown where streets are shut off. You have officers with guns drawn. They have the shooter. My source tells me it appears that the shooter was a parent who came into the arena and may have been targeting a family member. Now we have two people that are dead besides the suspect. We have a young girl and we have another person who we don't know. And then, three in the hospital with gunshot wounds. So it could have been a case where he was targeting something and then other people got in the way and then there was a lot of hysteria.
Apart from, we know they're related, we need to know the relationships, very important. And we also need to know the other people who were injured on either side of them.
Right.
That they just happen to be collateral.
Well, that's what we tried to ask, because I had originally heard that perhaps maybe some of them were hurt because of the stampede that was coming out of here. But the chief corrected it at that news conference that was just a little while ago and said, no, the three people in the hospital are gunshot victims too. Now, there might be other people that were hurt. And we're talking about physical injuries, Jim. We're not talking about, we just saw two cars with the kids in the back seat in the hockey gear and the parents driving them home. And you can just imagine, there's the chief right there.
Chief, could you come on out here for a second? Okay. All right, we understand that. So we try. That's Chief Goncalves.
Right? Gina and I are not shy when it comes to trying to getting interviews, but we just wanted to get some information. She hopefully will have another news conference tonight. She had said maybe not until tomorrow, and I said, Chief, on something like this, you gotta be in front of it because it affects. Like Patrice had said, this affects not just two teams because both teams are made up of 3 towns each, private schools, public schools. So this was a gunshot across the board to the hockey community.
Dan, you're right. Dan, take this for a second. I just want to go over and just see if I can catch up with the chief. You do that, I'll be back.
All right, Gene Belicenti, obviously going to see if you can catch up with Chief Tina Goncalves, who I'm not sure if I think she's on her way to her cruiser. But anyways, so that's the scene right here, guys. This area is blocked up. This is what it's going to be like all night long and probably for a couple of days. This is an active crime scene. They have to piece this together, but it appears in terms of people watching and living around here and being nervous, this was a targeted shooting. This was a family-related shooting, and perhaps that makes it even more tragic.
Yeah, Dan.
Emily, Patrice?
Dan, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm actually getting goosebumps because this affects all of us. This is our community. We all have been in that arena where kids are taking skating lessons or playing hockey. So it really cuts to the core. And you've just been through this, all of us have, with Brown University. You were up there at Brown University covering that as well.
Yeah, you know, what really is hard to see is, you know, Patrice, you're a parent, Emily's a parent, we're all parents, or we have grandkids, is that, you know, you think the two places that you send your children, school and sporting venues, right? Whether it be a hockey arena or whether it be a football field, and there is some sense of security. The focus is on school. The focus is on winning.
Right.
And now, in a matter of 2 months, they've ripped that sense of security from all of us. And now you have to wonder, when your kid has a game next week, you know, are they going to start putting metal detectors now? This is where we are. And again, some of it has to do with and some of it has to do with mental health, which is an issue that sometimes gets overlapped because we get into the gun dispute. This is too soon for that. Right now, we have a community healing. You know, when you see a couple of cars with hockey players in the back, there's one right there. We don't want to really necessarily show them, but they're all these parents are getting their kids out of here. That kid's got his head down, you know.
And this is like, this is 3 hours later, and they're being reunited, you know, now.
I don't know if you just saw that, but a lot of the parents are putting the kids in the back seat because of the shaded windows. But they just went down, and that kid had his head down, and I think he was crying. It gets you. It really does, because all you could do is see your own children.
You know, this parking lot is loaded with cars.
Yeah.
We're going to assume that those are the people who are at the game.
Yeah.
And they may have run out of here, and at some point they're going to have to come back.
Yeah.
And clearance to get their cars. But that is an active scene.
Right. They're going to detain people. Why don't Gene and I step aside? I'm not sure if you have a double boxer, but whatever you have, but let's give us the best view from our camera as nightfall sets in. Gene had mentioned that you're starting to see FBI and ATF. This is a mass shooting. And in mass shootings, the feds always step in. They don't take control, but they assist. We saw that in Providence. We saw that we see it in Tucson with the Guthrie case, and we see it here. They are using skills, whether it be surveillance skills that perhaps local authorities don't have. So it's kind of a relationship that people have in that case. But again, we were just talking to a gentleman, Gene, who is there.
Yeah.
In fact, he's over here behind the camera, but he doesn't want to talk to us right now. We appreciate that. But he was just kind of filling up, his eyes were filling up with tears, just saying how he just saw everyone running and scattering.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like Brown University. You had kids that were in college, right?
Yeah.
We all had kids in college. But when you see this kid drive by and his head's down and his parents are, can you imagine that conversation in that car going home? One that none of us should have with our children.
Well, especially they've been here for several hours now. And we're just seeing them come out. And I imagine there's more in there. They may be questioning each one and interviewing each one. It's
a crime scene, so you can't let people go. They have, obviously that area of the stands is all blocked off, according to a source who's been in there, who just texted me and said that whole area is blocked off. They have to take samples and stuff like that. Let's go back to the core of what we know, right? Because we do a lot of speculating. We don't want to speculate here. We want to inform people. So I said this with Brian Crandall at Brown, we're doing live reporting here. You're trying to get an interview. We're trying to get sources. You have, as we take a step back, a young girl who came to either watch a game or be part of this today, gone.
Was in the stands. Right.
You have another person who's passed away too. We don't know the relationship.
Don't know the relationship.
Don't know the age. We don't know if it's male or female. And you have families that are hospital beds with kids that just went to a hockey game, and now they're dealing with gunshot wounds.
And then you have a male shooter. Male shooter.
Let me step in there for 1 second on this, okay? And challenge me. My source tells me, and somebody I talked to who is in there, that they couldn't determine if it was a man or woman. And I asked the chief that question, and she would not respond.
Did the mayor say it was a male shooter in that news conference? Because it's pretty much was established in some of the reporting.
Some of it was right, and now there's a report that perhaps, and I'm not going to get into it because I don't have the backing of it yet. But there's some questions. But it appears it was a man somebody else thought it was a woman.
Okay,
So
well, you know what?
that's
We'll
all gonna come
we'll
out.
call that person the shooter.
Right.
That person, the shooter, killed themselves, him or herself, and
Right.
killed 2 other people.
Right.
And there were other people who were injured.
Oh, yeah.
To the left and to the right or behind them, and that's
another family.
that's
this is
what
a person who's just leaving.
Yeah. And that's the relationship. We also don't know if they're related to this family or these relatives,
Right.
or if they're just strangers.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to the studio. Got some new info for us?
Yeah, so we do want to clarify because the video that we've been showing you guys, there was talk that there was the live stream going on. The video that we've been showing you on air of the shooting as it happens, you can hear the popping from the gunshots. That is viewer video that was sent to us, and that is now part of this police investigation.
We're looking at it right now.
So this is the video.
Lynch Arena.
Yes.
Lynch Arena. This is about 2:30 this afternoon. Listen to the gunshots. There's about 15 shots there. And you see the players. At first, they keep skating because they think it's balloons that are popping. Then you see them suddenly, they're jumping. They're jumping and they're rushing. Everybody's like, get out of here. Get down to the locker room. They skate off. That's how they get off on the far side. We see over on the side, that's where somebody has been shot. And apparently the shooter may be right there too. But several people have been shot. We have 3 people injured, 3 people dead. And 1 person apparently took his own life, as far as we know.
Yeah, NBC 10's Brian Crandall, as soon as we got word that there was an active shooter, he flew out of here. He was working his sources. One of the first reporters to confirm with the mayor's office that there had been a fatality. He joins us live now from Pawtucket. I know, Brian, you've been speaking with some of those players who fled the ice. What else are you hearing at this hour?
Yeah, well, as you said, just frantic moments on the ice there. We did talk to the goalie from the Coventry Johnston team about what was happening. And you mentioned that he thought it was balloons at first. From what he said, they didn't know where the gunshots were coming from. The players on the ice took a second and then just went toward the locker room. I'm on the backside of the Lynch Ice Arena here on Broad Street. Police are still here. They have it blocked off. This is the view from the backside. Gene, Dan, Leanna are on the other side, but some players came out this way and went to a nearby convenience store. When we got to the scene, there were players and families waiting to get onto buses, and they did so. Some were over in the parking lot here for quite a while. But we talked to Olin Lawrence, the goalie from the Coventry Johnston team, about what it was like. He was on the ice when it happened. Here's what he had to say.
I was on the ice, and I thought it was balloons at first. It was like bop, bop, and I thought it was balloons. But it just kept going, and it was actually gunshots. And after the gunshots, me and my teammates ran right to the locker room, and we just bunkered up, and we pressed against. My bad. I'm sorry. We pressed against the door and just tried to stay safe down in there. But no, it was very scary. We were very nervous. So,
Right. Just imagine, high school players now huddled in the locker room. Unfortunately, in this day and age, students train and practice and drill at school for active shooting situations. This, of course, now happens at a game. It is a holiday, but there was this high school game. There were parents in the stand. His mom was with him when we talked to him. She said she was in the stands. And again, it was, she said, the most emotional day of her life, but she was there. So, and then they're separated from the players as the players go to the locker room. And we saw some, tearful reunions outside here in the parking lot, players hugging parents again before some of them got on a bus to leave here. But the information again here that this was a family dispute, but they didn't know that at the time. All of a sudden they hear about a dozen shots and then just go running for cover. So that's what it was like, the firsthand account of what it was like inside the Lynch Arena here a few hours ago in this game between the Coventry Johnston Co-op and the Co-op team from North Smithfield, North Providence, St. Ray's and Providence Country Day. Kids from 6 schools, 2 teams on the ice for this holiday matchup. And then in the first period, gunshots, and they go scurrying for cover, not really knowing at first what's happening. Patrice, Emily?
Brian Crandall live in Pawtucket for us this evening. As we mentioned just a few moments ago, initially there was like a 10-block radius that was all blocked off by police, but you could see behind Brian now some cars starting to go
A lot
through.
of traffic now.
We're told that Dexter Street has reopened, so it seems like, and we've been seeing when we were talking with Dan and Jean, the families finally leaving after hours there on the scene at the arena. So it seems like that area is starting to open up a little bit while authorities continue their investigation.
And those poor kids that were involved in this, and even the people in the stands. I mean, this has shaken the community to the core. We want to go back out to Dan Janig. He has found somebody who witnessed this. Dan?
So, Patrice, you just heard from Brian Crandall. Again, he is on the backside of the Lynch Arena where he saw people running as well. Here in front, we can confirm Dexter Street is reopened. And across from Dexter Street, across from the Lynch Arena, is an old mill building that's now apartments, and that's where Jay lives. Obviously,
Jay,
Gene
come on here,
Bell
Jay.
with us.
There we
Jay,
go.
just take a step forward. So, talk to us a little bit about it. You're home, and then you look out and you start seeing kind of chaos over here.
Yeah, no, I was just driving, through the entrance there, and as I was turning out, I just saw a bunch of people just kind of running across the street, running out of the building, and I kind of slowed down. I didn't know what was going on, and so I kind of kept going, and then 10 minutes later, I heard that it was a shooting.
Yeah.
Were these people just running out here and then running to the left and the right? Were they seeking shelter? How did it strike you?
Yeah, so the way I saw it was they were kind of running across the street towards the Walgreens right there.
Yeah. Brian is.
And from what I heard, people got in there and they were panicked.
Yep.
And that's when employees there called 911. But yeah, I just saw them scatter across the street. I didn't see them run this way. I just saw them run across the street.
Were they yelling? Were they screaming?
They were just in a panic. I mean, I just had my windows up. I couldn't really hear.
Yeah. And can you give us what you saw? So you saw a bunch of people. Did you see, parents? Obviously, did you see kids in hockey uniforms?
I didn't see anyone in hockey uniforms. I saw a lot of parents kids, parents just running out just in an absolute frenzy.
When you first walked up here and told me the story, you had tears in your eyes.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to do it. And then you came back. What brings tears to your eyes when you see this? You're across the street. Something hit home with you.
I mean, it's my community. This is my home. After what happened at Brown, happening so soon, especially as 200 feet from where I live. I just never thought that something like this would happen, especially with kids involved. It's something I can't really wrap my head around.
Are you born and raised in Pawtucket? Local person?
I wasn't born and raised in Pawtucket, but I have lived here for a while.
Right. You've been inside the arena?
I've been inside that arena. It's what they've done to it.
Yep.
Since I've been here, they've changed so much with it. They've made it a very welcoming place for the community. There's so many people that come through this building, buses of students and families always, they're playing games here and things like that. And yeah,
we've been watching another car just coming out with it looks like parents with kids.
We want to stay on this shot though.
And,
And again, just something, like I said, even though Brown's about half an hour away from where we are right now, it still seems far away. But when you see it across the street, it just hits home.
Yeah, it's unfathomable to think about that somebody like that is that evil and could do something like this to people that had the day off. They came here to watch a hockey game with their families on their day off, and somebody is just that evil. I can't really.
Jay, thanks.
We
appreciate your time.
We really
Let
do.
you go.
And take care of yourself.
Appreciate
And obviously, you can see it in his face, and you see it in a lot of faces here, guys. And I don't know if we can accurately report just the pain you see on some of the parents and the kids in the car and Jay across the street.
Yeah, it sure hits home, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Dan and Jean, thanks. We'll check back in with you guys soon. We've talked about what panic it was, not just inside the arena when we saw that video, but then people fleeing the arena to get to safety. We have some new video to show you guys. This was a convenience store. I believe this is the same convenience store where Brian Crandall interviewed one of those hockey players there. This is them all seeking cover in here. When the active shooting was involved, obviously, Patrice, as you said, more than 15 gunshots, it sounded like, and you can see it looks like they're kind of locking. There might be the store owner there watching to see who he's letting in. He's letting in people, making sure that there's other safe people. Anyone looking for cover in that area. These were in the moments right after the shooting unfolded. These look like a mixture of players who fled the ice as well as parents and spectators from the stands. There you can see them again pouring in.
This is a very commercial area. Lynch Arena, it's very close. It's like in the downtown area. And so we're probably going to see a lot of video like this because there's a Wendy's right there. There's a Walgreens right there. There's this convenience store, all kinds of stores and restaurants there. Not to mention the video that we showed you earlier of inside. This was being live streamed. And also we have viewer submitted video. Somebody took some pictures on their cell phones. I'm sure there are a lot of parents who are doing that because that's what parents do when they're watching a tournament. And there were so many different schools that were involved in this. We had St. Ray's, Providence Country Day, North Providence, Johnston, North Smithfield, Coventry. All of the players that were skating at that time at Lynch Arena in Pawtucket around 2:30 this afternoon are okay. But they scrambled off the ice and the people in the stands just ducked down. And when the people in the stands were able to escape, and you see some of the players, they still have their ice skates on.
He just took his helmet off when he walked in there. And kudos to the store manager, whoever that is in the blue jacket there, you know, kind of waving people in while also trying to lock the door when he saw that there wasn't anyone else, kind of trying to make sure people are safe and shielded inside his convenience store. We just heard from a man there talking about the sense of community he feels in Pawtucket. They feel around this area. I mean, this hits home for so many people, especially when everyone is so raw just weeks after the Brown University shooting.
Yeah, and you see those kids in those ice skates. I mean, they were running across parking lots in order to get to this store with their skates still on. That's not easy to do.
No.
But that's incredible. You see some people there too. Look at the lady offering some water to anybody. Does anybody need anything? So it was people coming together, helping each other. You see people on their phones are probably saying, hey, I'm okay, here I am. I'm in this convenience store, calling home and saying, you might see this on the news. There's been a mass shooting really at Lynch Arena. Let's go out to Leanna Falk. She's covering the story for us as well. What's the latest out there, Leanna?
Yeah, Patrice, we're still here at the corner of Barton and Dexter, but Dexter now, as you can see, has now completely reopened. So last time we spoke with you, there was a Pawtucket police cruiser that was stationed right here for several hours as the investigation was underway up Barton at the ice arena where the shooting took place. Now, again, this road has now completely reopened, and it's interesting how you describe it, Patrice, as a city center, a main area. There are several businesses around here. The parking lot we're in right now is an AutoZone. There's a Dunkin' Donuts across the street, a Domino's, several liquor stores. And so you can only imagine that in the aftermath of this shooting, there were several athletes, students, family members, kids, adults running into some of these businesses looking for safety, looking for cover. And it's good to know that there were some good Samaritans out there to offer them that refuge. Back to you.
All right, Leanna, thanks. You know, as the information was starting to trickle in, we were hearing things on the scanner. We were sending out crews to get out there. One of the first offices to give us any clarity about what was happening was the Pawtucket Mayor's office, Mayor Don Grebian. He held a press conference with the police chief of Pawtucket just a short while ago. Listen to what he had to say earlier today.
It has to be traumatic, right, to everybody. I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody. We're trying to piece it together. You know, they're all being shipped out to have conversations with to keep the investigation going. And we're dealing with the families. We have a lot of our services, family services, the Nonviolence Institute, a lot of our partners. They're all in there. They're doing grief counseling, so we're working close with them as well.
And you can see just how hard this hits him. You can see the impact on his face. So many in this community on the heels. We've mentioned it so many times, but we can't say it enough. On the heels of you and I were here just right before Christmas, the Brown shooting for days. This is horrific what happened today at that.
All too common, all too common. We also heard the police chief saying that this, they believe, was a targeted event, that a shooter shot and killed 2 people and then wounded several others. 3 people are still in the hospital at this point. We think at Miriam and Rhode Island Hospital, maybe just Rhode Island Hospital, because it is the level 1 trauma unit. We have a comment now from Senator Jack Reed on the shooting. He said this is a horrific tragedy. Children and families should be safe at a youth sporting event, not subject to gun violence. Our hearts grieve for the victims, their families, and all impacted by this senseless shooting. We are grateful for the swift response of law enforcement and emergency responders who rushed to assist, as well as the Good Samaritan who confronted and tried to disarm the shooter. We've got to try to figure out who that person is. It appears that this was a targeted incident. The suspect is dead, and there is no ongoing threat to the community, but there are a lot of unanswered questions. This is Senator Jack Reed saying this. He says, I will continue to closely monitor the situation and ensure the federal government provides any assistance that may be necessary. So if you are just joining us right now, there was a mass shooting at the Lynch Arena in Pawtucket today, about 2:30. The kids were on the ice. None of the people who were skating were injured. They skated off, went back to the locker room. The people in the stands ducked down. A total of 6 people were shot. We know that 3 people are dead, including the gunman. 3 people are still in the hospital at Rhode Island Hospital and perhaps Miriam Hospital, but we haven't confirmed that yet. But we believe that it had to do with a family dispute. So this was a targeted incident, and maybe these other people who were shot just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, and that statement from Jack Reed is the first time we're hearing any kind of confirmation. We've heard rumblings of this Good Samaritan who tried to disarm the gunman. That's the first time we've heard anything concrete coming out of anyone who's in on the investigation. And it'll be interesting to see. We have so few details about the 2 victims who died, as well as the 3 people who were in critical condition at the hospital. If that person was maybe one of the injured and trying to disarm the gunman.
But the great thing is that if there's something good as far as the investigation is concerned, there's video of this.
Yes.
So we're going to see exactly what happened. We have that video and we've shown it to you many times, but it does show the Lynch Arena. It shows these 2 co-op teams. They were skating against each other. All of a sudden you hear the pop, 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 pop. And apparently it was some kind of family member. And here's the video right here. Let's listen. People still don't know what to make of it. Then they realize, and all the players who are.
I want to pause. Do you see how close? Look where this is blurred. That's where the shooting happened. Look how close this team is. I mean, they're right, like next to it. How none of them got shot? Oh my God, thank God. Thank God they were not shot.
Off the ice, they duck down. The people in the stands duck down. Some kids don't know which way to go. They run back to their team, and then suddenly it's like, come on, let's go to the locker room. They skate across the rink. They go out the exit, which is on the other side. That's where the lockers are. That's where the locker rooms are. And on the right, if you go to the right, that's the entrance. That's the main entrance. That's the entrance everybody goes in. I know there's another exit where the Zamboni is, and I think some of the kids knew that exit and they got out that way. There might be an emergency exit over there as well.
And we do want to clarify, we had blurred out the right side of your screen there because that's where a number of the victims were in this shooting. NBC 10's Brian Crandall took off as soon as he got word that there had been some sort of incident in Pawtucket. He's been working the scene out there for hours now. He joins us live with the latest. Brian?
Well, Emily and Patrice, again, I'm on the back side of the Lynch Arena, and it's still, police here. They have it taped off. There's still news helicopters overhead as police are trying to piece together what happened here in this apparent family dispute that brought in a much larger community to it, with 2 hockey teams from a total of 4 high schools, these 2 co-op teams, into it. As we've been playing the video on the ice, it's just unimaginable about the players who were out there and the parents and family members who were in the stands on this, holiday school vacation week for a lot of kids coming together. As we said,
I want to address your question. I wonder, when something like this happens, if cell phone lines get jammed, like on landlines, when an emergency did happen? Okay, cell towers, and I actually know this a little bit. I don't know everything about them, but FirstNet is a group that, if you are emergency services personnel, which I am, you can get FirstNet, and that gives you first priority on the cell towers. When you get into a place like Disneyland, Six Flags, or say Macy's Parade downtown, and you get a huge group of people together in the thousands or in hundreds of thousands, it really puts a strain on the towers. And that's when you'll notice your signal isn't so great. But if you have FirstNet, you got perfect signal. In a situation like this, it's not going to, because it doesn't, even though all those people are there, their phones are already connecting to the towers, even when they're not on them on a call. So it doesn't make much difference. That is the way it was explained to me. No. If you're downtown New York in the big old parade and there's a mass disaster and everybody's all of a sudden on their phones, that size of number would. So I'm educated. I'm just going based on what I've been told. May or may not be correct, but that's what I was told because I've asked that question.
Players came, it appears, out the back of the arena and went into a convenience store down the street here on Broad Street. As I said, you know, as they have it taped off, they've now opened it back up to traffic here on Broad Street. But just chaotic moments. And, you know, we've been playing that interview with the goalie from the Coventry Johnston team who said he at first thought that it was balloons, and then they realized it was gunshots, but didn't see where it was coming from. I guess the good news is didn't see anybody who'd been shot as they hurried off the ice and just tried to focus on getting away. They went into the locker room. He said they were in there for about 20 minutes before police officers showed up, which he said was a relief, and then was reunited with his family outside after. Again, you've got family of players in the stands who are then trying to get back together with the players. You know, when we arrived here, the two teams looked like they were in two different spots. One was over here, and then that Coventry Johnston team was on the other side, and they were just getting onto buses when we showed up. As you're looking, you know, live overhead me here, as you look at the totality of the scene here with police vehicles still lining the streets around the Dennis Lynch Arena, and now, you know, families and those players starting to process what happened here a few hours ago, and how there were bullets flying not that far away from them. Again, as we have 2 shooting victims who are dead, 3 others in the hospital, and the shooter dead as well, apparently from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But again, you know, we've been talking about just the chaos and the frantic moments for all the people involved here as this dispute spills out. It involves, you know, at least dozens of other people who were at this rink watching or playing in a hockey game this afternoon. Patrice, Emily?
Yeah, you were interviewed the goalie for one of the teams, and they were still in their uniform. And we were looking at the video, the surveillance video that came from the convenience store. And we noticed that the athletes were still in their skates. That means that they were running for their lives. They didn't even have a chance to take their skates off. They ran out the door and ran across the parking lot and just found shelter wherever they could.
Yeah, and it's kind of unclear. You know, the goalie said they were in the locker room for about 20 minutes. So it's not really clear if then some of them just took off right away outside, because I think some of the people you saw in the convenience store video were from that player's team as well. But again, when we got here, it seemed like the teams had kind of gotten back together and were with parents and staff members being put on to rip the buses to leave the scene here. The game was just in the first period, so it wasn't that far into the game that started at 2:00. And then just, again, people, you know, running for their lives. And again, to do that in hockey skates, to come out onto the sidewalk and the street here to get to the convenience store around the corner, just unbelievable.
Brian Crandall, live in Pawtucket for us tonight. As we've said so many times at this point, there are so many unanswered questions, namely a motive. Why would someone open fire?
But it looks like it was a family dispute.
We do know, we have some idea that it's a family dispute, but NBC 10's Dan Jading and Gene Valicenti, they have been working their sources for us, trying to get answers. They join us once again live with more information.
Well, Emily, it's funny you mentioned sources. I'm getting texts, names, relationships, possible motive. I'm going to hold off, though, until we get it officially from police. But keep in mind, these are people who know each other.
Right, yeah.
This will come pretty quickly. I think before tonight's 11 o'clock news, we'll know names and possible motive and exactly who the victims are.
Yeah, and I also want to come on the air with some breaking news as well from my sources that I've been working on. I can confirm through a top-level law enforcement source that this appears to be a father who came into this arena. There is 1 or 2 witness accounts, and my source confirms it, that he may have been dressed as a woman or was wearing female clothing and a pocketbook, possibly. That's from a source, okay? So this will all play out. And that father intentionally targeted family members who were at the hockey game, okay? We know a young girl has died, and we know somebody else has died, and we know 3 people have suffered gunshot wounds. So again, I want to repeat myself, citing my top law enforcement source, that the suspect appears to be a father who may or may not have been dressed in female clothing, may have had a pocketbook. That's according to witnesses and my source, and targeted family members. We're not sure if any of the victims are family members, but the police did say that the victims and the suspect, it was a family.
Well, that adds another level, another dimension to this. You also have pictures, and you saw the pictures.
I saw one picture. We're not going to show it, though.
You saw that.
Yes.
So you saw this at your own eyes. Description that
right,
you just.
Yes. The thing too is, as you watch here, we're live reporting, and that's what Brian and Gene and myself and Leanna and the whole team is doing, working our sources, years of trust to try to get you the information, not speculation, information. What we can tell you though is that, why pick a hockey arena if this was a family event, right? This could have been a domestic in a home, which we cover all the time, sadly, in this world. But this was a public place where other victims could have been at risk.
I think before the night is over, I think we'll get possibly an answer to that. There may have been relatives, a crime of opportunity. There may have been several family members in one spot at a game.
That's a good point.
At the same time.
Yeah.
You've added another dimension to this. I could tell you that it's happening. Things are moving very quickly, only because so many people know each other in there.
Yeah.
We're going to get names. We're going to get the relationships, I would imagine, over the next couple of hours.
Yeah, and we just saw, just so you know, the human level of this. We just saw a family come across the street, their son in hockey gear, in socks, to go back into the arena, to be questioned, and also some of them need to retrieve their cars. We still have a parking lot full of cars.
I think what's going on is some of the family members, some of the kids may have been kept inside to be interrogated or interviewed. Others may have left.
I think Brian said that some of them may have even been bussed.
Yeah, and they're coming back now with their parents to get their cars and leave. And we're seeing a steady stream of vehicles leaving now with what looks like parents and kids in the back seat.
So there's we're not going to zoom over because those windows are dark. But that's a hockey player in the front seat with his mother. And again, you can't imagine the discussions being had because of the small knit community involves at least 6 schools. They probably the people who are watching who are here or have kids, they already know who the victims are.
Correct. And we don't know. We're in Pawtucket. We're assuming. But these could be out of town people,
we don't know,
completely out of town people.
Exactly.
Just happen to be Pawtucket's the venue.
It appears though that
there goes another emergency vehicle.
Another emergency vehicle and another car with players in it. So again, and we have a lot of police coming in too. So
it looks like they're making quick progress and doing whatever they've been doing in there. We appear to be entering another phase of this.
All right, we're going to hold there. We're going to head back to our co-anchors holding down the fort back at the station.
All right, Dan and Gene live in Pawtucket. So let's recap where we are. There was a hockey game today between 2 co-op teams comprised of players from Coventry, Johnston, St. Ray's, Providence Country Day, North Providence, and North Smithfield. Around 2 o'clock, shots rang out in the middle of the hockey game. We've been showing you that video. During that shooting, we know the shooter killed himself. 2 other people were killed in that shooting. Right now, it's unclear the dynamics of how those people might know each other. We also know 3 people are fighting for their life in critical condition from gunshot wounds at the hospital at this hour.
It was just a horrifying scene for these kids. And I know this arena so well, Lynch Arena, and I know so many of you do too, because it's the main place where high school and younger kids skate. And a lot of the skating teams, the figure skating teams practice there as well, and adults as well. So there is video of this. It was being live streamed. People were taking videos of their children. So we saw exactly what happened. There's going to be plenty of evidence there. We saw this people just skating out there, the students skating in this co-op game. And all of a sudden you hear the pop, 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 which the goalie for one of the teams describes as it sounded like a balloon popping. Then suddenly, when they realize what was happening, they skate off the ice. They go back to the locker room. They hide in the locker room. People in the stands, up on the benches, they duck down. There is actual video of the person who was the shooter. And apparently the victims, we had blurred that out for you so that you didn't have to see that. But it's not easy to get out of there. I mean, you're talking about, stands on the side of this building. And so you have to go down the steps. So people just duck down. And it was a frightening scene. It's something that nobody should have to deal with. And this is our community. And we're feeling this as deeply as you are. Our sense of security is just shattered.
Yeah, as Dan and Jean just alluded to, they are working their sources. Brian Crandall is too, as well as all of our reporters on scene. We're going to get you new information when NBC 10 News at 6 o'clock starts. That starts for you right now.
NBC 10 News starts with breaking news.
And we're continuing our coverage of today's deadly mass shooting at the Dennis Lynch Ice Arena in Pawtucket. The arena still an active crime scene tonight, a mass shooting. We've been on the air for several hours already covering the shooting and bringing you updates as they happen. A mass shooting at Lynch Arena, 3 people dead, including the gunman, 3 people injured, fighting for their lives. I'm Patrice Wood.
And I'm Emily Vol. Hockey game, which was held on the first day of February school vacation. The game was live streamed online by Live Barn. We blurred out the area where the shooting happened this afternoon, but you can see players skating across the ice away from the scene, and then families and supporters all running from the area. This is where you can see they realize something's happening. They duck down. It's hard to see with that lower third graphic. Then you see them frantically sprint across the ice. Many NBC 10 viewers, they recorded this video and sent this to us. This video will now play an integral part of the police investigation.
And here's what we have confirmed tonight. Police say 2 people have died, and also the gunman. And one of those victims described as a female. Originally, they said a young girl, but we heard the police chief say during the news conference that she thought it was 3 adults, but she had not confirmed that yet. But we know that 3 people are dead, including the gunman. Add to that, 3 people hurt, and they are in the hospital right now. Presumably, the most serious are at Rhode Island Hospital, which is a level 1 trauma unit.
Yeah, she mentioned that all of them were in critical condition from gunshot wounds. The shooting happened during, as we said, an afternoon hockey game involving 2 co-op teams. So a co-op team is if schools don't have enough players to create their own team, they kind of join up to make one co-op team. One team was made up of players from St. Raphael Academy, Providence Country Day, North Smithfield, and North Providence. The other team was made up of students from Coventry and Johnston. We have Team 10 coverage tonight. We are spread out across Pawtucket working to get you answers.
It's a very active crime scene at Dennis Lynch Hockey Arena in Pawtucket. Dan Janig and Jean Valicenti are near the scene of the shooting, and they're live with an update on what's happening right now. Dan?
Yeah, so we want to come on the air with some breaking news here at 6 o'clock. And this is information based on my top law enforcement source, who now tells me that it appears police are investigating a father who showed up at this arena at a hockey game that one of his children was playing in. And according to at least 2 witnesses and my source, the father was dressed, what appeared to be in women's clothing, may have had a pocketbook. So much so that when he came in, a couple of people were just kind of, surprised and may even took photos of him. We also know that he targeted his family, and there were several family members here. We don't know if all of the victims are family, but we do know at least one of them is, based on source information. Now, Jean, you and me both have some source information that we don't want to share yet because we're not 100% with it. But it appears at this point, this is a family tragedy that played out in a public arena.
I think it's safe to say that in the end, the shooter, whomever that shooter is, and the other 2 people who were killed, at least one of them is a family member. The other one may have been peripheral. We don't know that yet, and that may change. Some of the other people who were injured may also be family members. So it appears most of those either killed or injured were family members. There may be someone who was not related but very close to them.
This is this is a family tragedy that didn't play out at a home. It played out in a hockey arena. where maybe all the
Right.
family was gathered to watch their child play in a game.
I think it might have been a crime of opportunity. There may have been some other relatives there at the time.
Right.
I also think that so many people know this particular
Oh,
family.
yes,
They're
yes.
players. That this information will gel and solidify very, very shortly.
But
We'll get. I already have names
Right.
and relationships. I'm not going to go with it though, just because it's very fluid. We'll wait for the police to give it.
Let the police do their job, but we just want to give you what we know. We did talk to a witness who lived across the street, and he came home and noticed people running for their lives, parents grabbing kids, and here's what he told Gene and I just a little while ago.
I mean, it's my community. You know, this is my home. You know, after what happened at Brown, you know, happening so soon, especially as, you know, 200 feet from where I live, you know, I just never thought that something like this would happen, especially with kids involved. It's something I can't really wrap my head around.
Pretty emotional from that witness who lives across the street. Meanwhile, back here at the scene, Dexter Street's open. We're seeing police arrive, and we're seeing parents with children in hockey gear. Most of them put in the back seat because of the dark windows, and they're leaving. And some of the faces of those hockey players, it would bring you to tears.
Yeah, we just saw the family just went in, and the kid was still in his hockey uniform. So some of them fled. Some of them have been interrogated elsewhere. Some of them have been kept in the building, and they're leaving. I just want to tell you, we're about a half a block down from the arena. We've seen a number of members of the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, a federal agency. Seen people with FBI jackets on, also state police and local police. All right.
Mass shooting, right?
Mass shooting.
Mass shooting. The federal gets involved to assist with local leading police. And just so you give us an idea, Gene and I are right here at the epicenter of this ground zero. Our colleague Leanna is just up the road where the press conference took place earlier. And then on the backside is Brian Crandall,
who we're going to go to now because Brian's going to pick up our coverage. He's directly opposite us. Brian, you take it.
Yeah, Gene, Dan, this appears where some of the players at least came out in those frantic moments after the shooting. Police are still blocking off this area here on Broad Street. Broad Street itself is now open, but some of the players, it seems, came out onto Broad Street and went into a nearby convenience store. We've been showing that video of the moments of the shooting on the ice. It was the first period of this hockey game. We spoke to a player, the goalie for the Coventry Johnston team, who was on the ice at that moment. Here's what he told us about what happened.
I was on the ice, and I thought it was balloons at first. It was like bop, bop, and I thought it was balloons. But it just kept going, and it was actually gunshots. And after the gunshots, me and my teammates ran right to the locker room, and we just bunkered up, and we pressed against. My bad. I'm sorry. We pressed against the door and just tried to stay safe down in there. But no, it was very scary. We were very nervous.
Where did the shots come from? Do you know?
Yeah, it was the far side. So I was on the where the Zamboni is. It was the far side of the building, on the opposing side's bench. Yeah, it was scary. It was a lot of shots.
How many?
I think I heard 14.
Did you see where the people who were shot
I
were?
did not see. I was so nervous. I
have to ask, were you counting them, my dear, or were you just guessing? It was pop, 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 pop. So it was pretty rapid.
Went down and then I ran.
And the good news, none of the players were hurt as they got off the ice. None of them were shot, it appears, again, as there was apparently more than a dozen shots that were fired in the stands. And again, some of them went to the locker room. That player, the goalie, Owen Lawrence, told us it was about 20 minutes before police officers came in and they felt relief. We also talked to his mom, who said it was like the most emotional day of her life again, and then they were reunited after, but just chaotic moments for the people on the ice and, of course, the people in the stands here in this afternoon holiday hockey game between the two teams, one from Coventry and Johnston, the other from St. Ray's, PCD, North Smithfield, and North Providence. Now, as Dan and Gene mentioned, we have multiple crews on the scene. Let's get to our colleague Leanna Falk, who was at the press conference a little while ago with authorities, who had a little bit more information. Leanna?
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned the chaos that erupted in the aftermath of this shooting, which the police chief described as a targeted act of violence. And it's one that likely spilled out into this broader community here in Pawtucket. From where I'm standing, I'm at Dexter and Barton, one of the main roads in this area. Lots of different shops and stores. We're in the parking lot of an AutoZone. There's a Domino's and a Dunkin' right across the street. And for several hours, This street right behind me, Dexter, was completely blocked off with a Pawtucket police cruiser as investigators were continuing their investigation. Now, again, they have called this a targeted act of violence. They say there's a possible connection, a family dispute that essentially erupted inside of this high school hockey game and resulting in 6 people being shot, 2 victims, the suspect that was also found dead, and then also 3 people who are currently in critical condition at this hour. Now, we know that this was a high school game. Multiple games are going on throughout the day involving several different co-ops teams. And we know that, again, they've called this targeted. This was not random. This situation happened because police have called it, again, a possible family dispute. They haven't given many details regarding the extent of that as far as a motive, who the shooter was, any details on who these victims were. But we know that this was targeted and it was likely a family dispute. We have more sound from the chief on this. Take a listen.
It appears that this was a targeted event, that it may be a family dispute. We cannot release the names of the victims because obviously we want to speak to the family, make sure that the family is well aware of what happened before we release that information publicly.
Now, detectives are currently, they say, interviewing witnesses. This was a packed house. This arena was full of people and onlookers. Patrice has mentioned it throughout our coverage this evening that there were likely several parents that were taking videos of their students, of their children as they were out on the ice. So right now, it is all hands on deck to figure out what exactly led to the moment that gunfire erupted at a high school hockey game. Back to you.
Leanna, thank you. The pain of this is being felt across Rhode Island. So many teams were involved in this, so many communities. As we mentioned, a half dozen schools were involved in that hockey game today. They were on 2 co-op teams from across Rhode Island.
And each one has put out a statement this afternoon. From Coventry, Superintendent Dan Cowart, all students from the Coventry boys hockey team who were present at an incident at Lynch Arena in Pawtucket have been accounted for and are safe. From North Smithfield, Superintendent Michael St. John, our athletic director was present at the game. All of our students and families are safe. This is from North Providence, Superintendent Joseph Goho releasing a statement that reads, in part, as you may have heard on the news this afternoon, there was a shooting that occurred. It's a different ice rink here, but it happened in Pawtucket. Unfortunately, all students involved in the game are safe.
And this from Johnson Superintendent Scott Sutherland. We have confirmed that our Johnston High School student athlete who was participating in the game is safe. In fact, all of the skaters are okay. Administrators from St. Raphael's Academy in Pawtucket also notified the school community earlier this afternoon at Lynch Arena. At a hockey game, there was a horrific incident with an active shooter. We have been told that none of our SRA family was injured. And from Providence Country Day School, we are shocked and saddened by the shooting at today's hockey game in Pawtucket. We can confirm that the PCD students, parents, and staff that were present at that time are safe.
All right, we're going to take a short break, but we will be back in just a few minutes with more live coverage from the mass shooting at a hockey arena in Pawtucket.
Okay, while they take that short break, I want to share with you that we are still in verdict watch for the Edric Faust trial. They, meaning the jury, did come in and request. I got it, guys. You don't hate me. Stay where you are. Don't go anywhere. Never mind. I'll just deal with it. I was going to reload, but I'll just deal with it. Anyway, what's happening is that the jury wanted to see some testimony about the DNA, and they were heard an audio testimony for almost 2 hours, and then they heard then they saw evidence, paper evidence, and so yeah, that is where we are, and we are switching to a new live feed because the live event ended. So they went ahead and ended that live. Let me see if they're live over here. Ended. It says live. It is ended. Okay. So the live events have ended. sort of. I'm going to refresh. So the jurors wanted to see some of the testimony again, and then they decided that they were going to try to stay longer. They needed their phones so they could go and call their family to notify them that they were still deliberating. They were escorted to the vehicles where their phones were located. And so they were able to yep, all the lives have ended. So the live feed has ended for the shooting. So anyway, they were able to make phone calls to inform their families that they are going to be staying late to deliberate. So that is where we are. I know the moment that I get up and go, because I'm going to have to get up and go at some point in the near future. A friend of mine, they bought a car for their son, and they need my help driving to San Antonio, picking it up. I'll drive my car back. They'll drive the new car for their son back. So I will need to be going at some point to do that. Now, that said, I'm trying to find something live for us to watch. I'm going to go to the Guthrie. Nancy G's his information. We're gonna start watching Nancy G. Let me get that sharing going on. There's been some updates in that case. I wish I could show you all the Olympics. I do. I'd rather be doing that, but I cannot. I cannot. There we go. Turn on sound.
And it is never too late to do the right thing.
That is true.
A source familiar with the investigation tells CNN that investigators still have not identified a leading motive for Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. As for the glove, the FBI says that DNA recovered from it is being analyzed to determine the identity of a possible suspect. This evidence is being run through what's known as the Combined DNA Index System, a U.S. national database that holds more than 19 million offender profiles. Let's go straight to Lee Waldman, who's joining us live now from Tucson, Arizona. I mean, it's an important point to note that we still don't necessarily have a motive in terms of this possible abduction of Nancy Guthrie, but the fact that there could be DNA evidence possibly linking this glove to a potential perpetrator is huge in terms of a potential breakthrough for this case, Lee.
You're exactly right, Zane. This could be a major development once we're able to identify who this DNA actually belongs to. So let's wrap up everything we have found so far. We're learning from law enforcement that a glove found less than 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home has DNA on it. They've sent it off now to a private lab in Florida for DNA testing. Once the FBI comes and does some quality control and confirms what's been found, they'll run it through their criminal database, CODIS, to try and see if it matches any previous offenders that they have in that system. It'll likely also be tested through these third-party DNA mapping sites that are open to the general public to identify any familial DNA. These are just efforts to try and identify who this person is. What they're also working to determine here is if the DNA on the glove that they found also matches the DNA that was found at Nancy Guthrie's property. Now, the sheriff is not telling us where exactly it was found, but they did say it does not match Nancy. It does not match anyone close to her. So if those two DNA samples, they match, that gives investigators a better place for them to zero in on with their exhaustive searching that's been underway for 16 days now since Nancy Guthrie went missing. They can really zone in on a specific area here in this desert terrain to see if they can uncover any other clues. But that will be the biggest clue that we've had really since the release of that doorbell camera video that showed that armed and masked man. They believe the gloves that they sent off for that testing, visibly, they matched the gloves that that person was wearing. We know at this point the backpack he was carrying was identified as like a Walmart brand backpack. They're working to identify any of the other brands that he has on as well. The ski mask, the gloves, the jacket that he has on. A profile we have at this point is just a medium-build man between 5'9" and 5'10". They're still asking neighbors in this community, especially in a 2-mile radius from Nancy Guthrie's home, to look through all of their surveillance video and to submit that to their law enforcement sites to see if there's been anyone who is suspicious, any vehicles that seem out of place between January 1st and February 2nd. But we do need to focus in on what all of this is about. Nancy Guthrie herself, that gut-wrenching and heartbreaking video released by Savannah Guthrie, pleading with her mother's apparent abductors to release her. It's not too late to do the right thing, is what she had said to them. And we know that Nancy Guthrie, she's 84 years old, in fragile health. She's on daily medication that she likely has not had any access to in the 16 days that she's been gone. It's really showing you the desperation this search has reached, the level of desperation, not only from her family, but also her neighbors. You can see these beautiful yellow flowers behind us. We asked the flower shop where most of these are coming from what the yellow symbolizes. They say it's hope, it's support. We spoke to one woman who lives about a half a mile away. She says her mother plays mahjong with Nancy every week. She's known the family for decades now, and her heart is broken, waiting to see if Nancy is safely returned home, and whoever did this is brought to justice.
New message from Savannah Guthrie as the search for her missing 84-year-old mother, Nancy, stretches into a third week.
And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing.
It's never too late, she said. This new plea comes as investigators anticipate the final test results from DNA on a glove found about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's Arizona home, which the FBI says appears to visually match the ones worn by the suspect seen in the doorbell cam video. But a source close to the investigation stresses there are still no leading theories as to why Guthrie may have been taken. Let's get right to CNN's Lee Waldman live on the scene this morning with the latest. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, John.
Is the Pawtucket police received a call at about 2:30 this afternoon that we had an active shooter at Lynch Arena. Upon arrival, police were met with several people obviously inside the arena, and there was 2 casualties within the arena. The suspect was confirmed as one of those casualties. Later on, we learned that another casualty from the shooting was at the hospital, that they succumbed to their injuries after being at the hospital, and there is 3 additional victims at the hospital that all are in critical condition at this time. It appears that this was a targeted event, that it may be a family dispute. We cannot release the names of the victims because obviously we want to speak to the family, make sure that the family is well aware of what happened before we release that information publicly. We have several witnesses that are at the station, so we're going to put it together a story before we release information to make sure that the information put out there is accurate and correct, and there's nobody.
Chief, the 4 victims that are hospitalized, were they hospitalized because they may have been trampled or pushed down, but they actually were not shot?
No, so we have, we have 3 deceased victims, right? We have 3 deceased, the suspect, and then we have 2 victims. And then we have 3 at the hospital that were part of the incident that, no, they were not trampled, that they were shot. So, again, what I can say is that, no, the police were not involved. What I can say that, again, we're putting all the pieces together. It appears from a self-inflicted gun wound, but we are going to investigate that fully. The police were not involved in that.
Understand, so there's a suspect who is dead, and then there are 2 victims. Are those teen victims?
I'm not releasing their ages, but it appears that they're both adults.
Are they both related to the suspect?
Again, I'm trying to.
I understand. We appreciate it. We're just trying to get information.
I know, and I want to make sure that with the information we're putting out there, because again, they're family members at home. We want to make sure that we speak to them first before they hear it on the news or in the media. It's very important for us to make contact with the families and get an accurate depiction of what the family dynamics look like so that we can be able to put it out there. So what I can tell you right now is the Pawtucket Police received.
Okay, I just wanted y'all to hear that. We'll go back to Nancy. If I find anything else, I'll put it back on. We are also waiting for the law student Red Room trial, Georgia versus Edric Faust. We are in a verdict watch at this time. Thank you, Angela. I see it. Angela, when y'all put something in live com, go ahead and give me a little dooing, a little sound so I know that it's there, because I may hear it before I see it, but thank you so very much. Okay, so we're going to go here. After the commercial plays, we'll turn it on. Thank you so much, Angela. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. It's been a long day. We're still in verdict watch for the Faust. And I hope it comes in, because otherwise I'll be in the car with you guys, or I'll shut it down and then we'll just pop live if it comes in. I'll have it set up where I can go live. I may have to pull over the car and go live, but I'll get you live.
Alert. This weekend, the desperate search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie entering its third week. Investigators are coming through every video and chasing down every lead, but still have not narrowed down on a suspect.
We are awaiting the forensic results from Friday night's massive police operation at a home that's just 2 miles away from Nancy's home. That operation led to 4 people being detained, but then released. While officials say everyone who was questioned is cooperating, there are still no signs of Nancy, and we can expect more law enforcement operations in the coming days.
Authorities are now turning to the sky, implementing a high-tech Bluetooth scanner.
I will listen to it again.
On a helicopter in hopes of detecting Guthrie's pacemaker. For the latest on the ground, let's go to Alicia Cunha, who is live outside of Nancy's Tucson home. Good morning, Alicia.
Good morning to all of you. Regarding that Bluetooth scanner, we have a couple of videos to show you of the law enforcement helicopter that was hovering over Nancy Guthrie's home. Fox News Digital found out that investigators were using a Bluetooth scanner placed on the bottom of the aircraft to detect Nancy's pacemaker, and this from February 3rd. It caught our attention that day because this helicopter was flying so low to the ground and appearing to concentrate on specific areas around the property. This, as FBI and sheriffs conducted a court-ordered search warrant on a home about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home on Friday. 3 people were detained at this location, and a man was detained at a traffic stop at this Culver's restaurant. The Range Rover he was driving was searched and towed away by authorities. All 4 people were ultimately released. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos in a statement saying, "I'm guessing anyone at the residence was detained, but that is standard procedure to allow investigators serving a search warrant freedom to conduct their search. I was not at the scene, and I'm sure people were detained, but no one was arrested. And more importantly, no sign of Nancy was found." And that is the key point here as we enter into week 3 of her abduction. There is no sign of her, even with 30,000 tips sent to law enforcement and a $100,000 reward for her safe return and arrest and conviction of whoever did this. Now, Rachel, you mentioned the sheriff has also said that they are still awaiting test results on the forensics that was done on that Range Rover and from that search on Friday. But as it stands, no arrests, no persons of interest. Back to you.
Alicia, listen, I want to hear a little bit more about what this Bluetooth scanner does, but more importantly, why the heck are we in week 2 and they're trying to locate her through the pacemaker? If they had that technology, why wasn't that used on day 1?
You know, Rachel, I'm not sure that they're just now starting to use it. It may be that we're just learning that they have been using it, because that video we showed you from February 3rd when they were hovering, that was 2 days after that she was reported missing. And it was striking, I will tell you, that day. And I think we even maybe talked about it on the air, because it's so low to the ground. And it was just kind of sitting there. And we just assumed that they were searching, right? That they were looking for something. It never occurred to us at that moment that they could have something trying to pick up her pacemaker.
And so the way obviously this works is the way the pacemaker works. The pacemaker has its own power source, and no matter the condition of the heart or whether or not or the position of her cell phone, that Bluetooth is going to be pinging to connect with something. Kind of walk us through how that would work.
Yeah, and I for sure am not the expert on pacemakers. John Roberts, I do know, is, because he has one. But from what I understand, I mean, the technology stands on its own. It has its own battery. There isn't a concern that it is going to expire, at least not right now, in terms of the pacemaker battery. And then there's an app. It's connected. It's got its own homing device at the home. And we do know that that's separated. But in terms of how much they can gather in terms of locating her, perhaps this Bluetooth can help, because if it picks something up, then that's hope, right? That's
it's like your earbuds that are always searching, even if it's not connected to, Griff's phone.
Right.
My earbuds are going to be like pinging to him.
So has this been going on? You said they started, you think maybe in day 2 using this. Have they been doing this throughout the last 2 weeks, or is there an uptick in this use?
So we did see them early on. We haven't seen a helicopter on a daily basis in that kind of pattern, that low to the ground, Rachel. But we do know that when there have been searches in other areas around the Tucson area, the helicopter goes out there. We haven't seen it because we weren't out there watching to see if they were also low to the ground and using that scanner to try and locate her. But that would make sense, right? If they believe that they're actually looking for her location and maybe not necessarily a suspect, that they would, use this scanner to try to see if they can pick something up. It's the closest thing they have to some sort of, location device that you have, kind of like what you have on your phone. Sure.
Yeah. Alicia, let me just ask you one thing about what Sheriff Nanos has told us yesterday, obviously about the operations that happened, but then he said also that expect more law enforcement actions. I'm assuming we really don't have any idea what that means. Is there any more detail you can add to that?
Yeah, I found that statement, Griff, to be very interesting when you consider we're 2 weeks in and we've seen law enforcement activity every day. On this case, we've seen, members of law enforcement just walking the streets of this area. They've been searching in the terrain. They've been at this home. They've been at Annie Guthrie's home. So I wasn't sure if he meant we're going to see even more of that or if there's going to be something different. He did mention, however, that, we see a lot, and you've noticed a lot of the action that we've seen happens later in the day. And he kind of alluded to that when he said that, they're working on leads and they're working on tips, and then we'll see them kind of the SWAT team, for instance, get moving. So that could be what he was referring to. But as far as I understand, ever since the day she's been missing, they've been working on this investigation.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah. All right. Alicia Cunha, thank you very much. We'll be checking in with you throughout the morning.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so with yesterday's frustrating end with the release of those 4 suspects, or not suspects, but subjects of interest, police are obviously left to this Bluetooth device search operation. But also, we're left with the original photos that we got about a week after from the doorbell cam. And we've got this first one. What's kind of interesting is you have these first 2. One where he's not wearing his backpack and one where he is wearing his backpack, leading people to believe that this may have been taken at 2 separate times. Obviously, police probably have, it's safe to assume, a better idea about the timing on that, but police have not released the timestamps for these pictures. In particular about the second one where he's got the backpack and he's got this very strangely strapped gun holster that is on the front, which is a place where most people do not carry, most experienced gun owners do not carry their firearm. What's also kind of interesting about it is it's a holster designed for a revolver but it appears to be some kind of automatic weapon. Maybe it almost looks like some kind of Ruger 22 plinking automatic handgun. But what's also kind of interesting is if you look at the bottom there, it looks like the end of the barrel is kind of sticking out of the bottom of it, which has led police to think that maybe this holster might be a very important piece of this. One thing that's interesting, I think Fox News Digital found this holster at Walmart, but what's kind of interesting about it is this thing is black, and most of the ones that you're familiar with seeing are a tough black canvas, whereas this thing looks like it's white. That may be an issue just because of the lighting on.
All right, and when you have an infrared light, black can look lighter, white can look dark. I mean, the color can be changed, but I'm not liking the way he's reporting this. This is a standard cheap holster.
With the way the doorbell camera changes the light. But probably a significant piece of information that police are still looking for. And then, of course, as we talked about yesterday, also the backpack worn by this person in these pictures is an Ozark Trail hiker backpack, and which is fairly commonly found. But as some of the detectives have pointed out, it is with online shopping, it's a whole lot more difficult to sort of pinpoint that because you can get that stuff ordered to you.
All right.
From Nancy Guthrie's Arizona home, which the FBI says appears to visually match the ones worn by the suspect seen in the doorbell cam video. But a source close to the investigation stresses there are still no leading theories as to why Guthrie may have been taken. Let's get right to CNN's Lee Waldman live on the scene this morning with the latest. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, John. That video of Savannah, the latest plea from her for any answers on her mother's safe return, you can just see the desperation at this point as we're 16 days out since her mother was apparently abducted from her home here. That glove that was recovered, that investigators have said has DNA on it. We know it's been sent off for testing to that private lab in Florida. Once the quality control is done, the FBI is going to start running it through its unique database. All of this can take about 24 hours, depending on the quality and type of DNA that's been recovered. We also know that there's been DNA recovered on the property of Nancy Guthrie. The sheriff not telling us exactly where it was found, but saying they have DNA. It's not Nancy's, and it's not anyone close to her. But the big question is, who does it belong to? That's the overwhelming question here, and one that we desperately need answered. In addition to running it through a criminal database, experts say that they'll likely run the DNA that's been collected through familial DNA testing websites to see if there's any kind of match there. There's a lot of unanswered questions here. There's still no leading theory as to what happened here. Was it a targeted kidnapping because of who Nancy Guthrie's daughter is? Was this a burglary gone wrong? We can't really eliminate any of those theories at this point. So many questions lingering over here, but let's run us through what we do know. We know from the doorbell camera video and pictures that were released, it was an armed and masked man who came to Nancy Guthrie's door. The FBI saying they have a preliminary profile of who that person is. That's a man with a medium build, between 5'9" and 5'10". Neighbors in this area are still being asked to go through their surveillance video and submit anything that they have between January 1st and February 2nd in a 2-mile radius here. Anything that could be deemed suspicious, suspicious person, suspicious vehicle, all of this trying to see if someone was casing this home or stopped by after this kidnapping happened. A lot of unanswered questions here, and the neighbors in this community, they're feeling it, wanting more information, not only from the sheriff, but also from the FBI. And they're pleading with the abductors as well. Return their neighbor back safely. John, you can see behind me this growing tribute filled with beautiful yellow flowers. We spoke to the flower shop owner. He tells us the yellow represents hope and support, and that's what this community is hoping to give to the Guthrie family. I spoke with a woman over the weekend. She says that her mom plays mahjong with Nancy Guthrie every week. She says this couldn't have happened to a nicer family, and her heart is broken. All of us still praying for the safe return of Nancy here.
And Savannah Guthrie herself saying that the family still has hope. Lee Waldman for us in Arizona. Thank you for all your reporting on this. Kate?
Joining us right now is CNN Chief Media Analyst Brian Stelter and former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis. Brian, just wanted to start with you as you continue to do reporting on how this is impacting Savannah and her family and everything you've heard. Tell us more about this new video that Savannah put out.
With this video, I thought this was the hardest one to watch yet. In some ways, the most personal, the most raw. And she continues to use her Instagram feed, signaling this is personal, right? Of course it is, but signaling that she's not there using the trappings of NBC, not using the trappings of the Today Show, not relying on the fancy cameras and studio lighting. She is just there as a daughter pleading for help. I noticed a column from Washington Post columnist Monica Hess last week about this, saying, what would it be like if your professional skills, in this case, Savannah's skills on TV, were suddenly required for the most crucial and terrifying personal matter? And that's exactly what we're seeing. She's having to communicate through the camera lens, trying to speak to these apparent abductors directly, telling them it's never too late to do the right thing. I found it even more heartbreaking than the earlier videos, Kate.
Yeah, and at investigators looking at where things stand right now, they're testing a glove that they say appears to match what the suspect was wearing in the doorbell videos. Test results could come back today. Could a glove crack this?
FYI, the glove did come back with DNA on it from a male individual. Trying to find some more video for y'all. All of a sudden, I'm getting a lot of food videos up there. We'll go to Vinny.
Thick, standard shaped eyebrows. Yes, I can see the eyes. You get rid of that big white shine in the middle of the iris. I got the irises. Mathematical probability, they're brown eyes, like the rest of the population of the world. Mostly brown eyes. The nose, I threw on a standard nose, but as he's profiled, you can see it's not a big hook nose. It's not a big nose. It's not even really wide. And then I got a top lip and a bottom lip, the center part of the top and bottom lip, and also the philtrum length from the bottom of the nose to the top of the lip is a crucial metric because that philtrum can be the same size on a baby as on a 7-foot man. So if you got that philtrum, you're going to have a big indication of the proportion. Then I got a little bit of the bottom lip. I threw on an average chin, and I assumed, wow, that thick of a mustache, he's going to go ahead and do a goatee. And now he might do, his hair might disappear right here, and it may not be attached. And maybe he doesn't have a beard. But you know what? I want to get these people back to their loved one because I've seen people be tortured by not having their kidnapped loved one, and I couldn't help myself. I've worked 5,089 cases, and the thought that I could help, I was going to take the risk that I'd be wrong. Okay, I might be wrong. I'll take the risk. I'll take the risk. It's okay. And so I went up to the easel, and if you're real upset and you're real emotional, which I am, the drawing goes fast. So there's my shot. There's my shot for justice. There's my shot to get their mommy back.
Yeah. Bill Stanton, from your perspective investigating, obviously you've got the video, you've got the height, you've got the build. You can see pieces of the face. And Lois, through her experience, has drawn what she believes may resemble what is beneath that mask. What are your thoughts tonight about what is going to be crucial here in being able to identify this man?
Well, Vinny, thank you for having me. And Lois, you definitely quantified, your reasons and your methodology of doing the art. What I think is what we're all doing, all hands on deck, trying to add to it. What I would add about the photo, the drawing rather, is I would treat it as a guide, not gospel. Very intelligent remarks, how she quantified it. Lois, I would ask you to follow up those pictures without the mustache, without the hair, doing variants, because this perpetrator very well may be looking to change his appearance as we go along.
You're so smart.
And people are myopic and they just may see that. What I would tell your audience, and I would tell anybody, is let's use this well thought out drawing as a guide, not gospel. If all of a sudden you see someone with a mustache and then it disappears tomorrow, you may want to do the head tilt and think about it and call in that tip. But it's going to be all of us. I see mistakes being made across the board, but there's so much information coming in. The investigators in the trenches need to be myopic in their vision and really filter what's coming in and focus on what they feel are the greatest, strongest leads.
So, Lois, just going to your background, normally you are drawing based upon eyewitness descriptions versus trying to extract something. Have you ever done anything close to this where, part of a person is captured maybe on video, or perhaps even someone with a mask?
Yes, I have. For 43 years, I've done dozens. And also I did the kissing sailor identification, and all you can see is a piece of his face while he's kissing the nurse after World War II, just a piece of his face. And I have done things like that. And I've done facial reconstructions from skulls, which all you have is the bones and you don't have the hair. And I've always been successful. The last 16 skull reconstructions I did identified the person. And your other guest, you're so right. You're so right. I thought about it, and I should have done versions without a beard, maybe clean shaven. You're so intelligent.
Well, the case hasn't been solved yet. Case has not been solved yet, Lois. So you have time to do it. And please, as soon as you do it, share it with us. Thank you, Lois Gibson. Appreciate your time and your passion as well. Bill Stanton's going to stick around later in the show. Coming up next, was Nancy Guthrie alive when she was removed from her house?
We will not rest. Your children will not rest.
All right, I'm going to say this. The blood that they found were drops. She is on blood thinner. And anybody who knows anybody on blood thinner, you can just rub the skin and it can tear and just drip a lot of blood. I would venture to say she was alive when they abducted her, but in the abduction, they did not account for her super thin skin that bleeds like a stuck pig. I have a 91-year-old father on blood thinner. I know how easy their skin bleeds. Anybody else on blood thinner, you can agree with me on this. So, but do I believe she's still alive now? I do not. Sorry.
In 2021, Dee Warner vanished without a trace.
Dale Warner. He's accused of murdering his wife, Dee. Rumors of a troubled marriage spread throughout this small community.
She had contemplated divorce several times.
Now, after years of searching for Dee Warner, her remains are found on the couple's property, sealed inside a welded shut storage tank.
We're still going to fight to the end to see that she gets her justice.
The Hidden Murder of Dee Warner. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you.
I believe Savannah and her family is holding on to hope that Nancy is alive and that there's a chance to bring Nancy home in all of this. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. And Cody, the thing about Nancy, right, that makes her different than many of the victims that we've covered and makes this so different, she's 84 years old. What do we know about Nancy's medical condition?
Yeah, Vinny, we heard early on from the sheriff that mentally Nancy is as sharp as a tack, but as you just said, she's still an 84-year-old woman. I mean, we've heard it was reported that she can't even walk 50 yards by herself, and she needs critical daily medication. Take a listen to her daughter, Savannah Guthrie, and the sheriff talking more about her condition.
She's 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer.
We know she is in need of medication, daily medication. And we also know that this is day 4 or 5, and still we don't know that she's getting her medication. That could in itself prove fatal.
And Vinny, what we also know is that Nancy wore a pacemaker connected to an app on her phone. It was mentioned when the sheriff went over the timeline of events during a recent press conference. Take a listen to this.
This is a timeline that we have been able to develop with some of the things that we've had processed. Sunday morning, early morning at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera. 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app shows that it was a disconnect from the phone.
And Vinny, you know, as I listen to that, it seems to me that police authorities could be able to extract some data, you know, from that pacemaker app, considering they still have Nancy's phone.
Absolutely. That could be a huge piece of evidence in all of this. Thanks, Cody. And it brings us right to our next question in our investigation. If, in fact, they have the pacemaker and the app and the data, was Nancy Guthrie alive when she was removed from her house? Can that app and the data there give us the answer to that question? Joining me, Associate Professor of Medicine at Leland Stanford Junior University, also known as Stanford University, Dr. Marco Perez is with us. Dr. Perez, thanks so much for joining us. Let me start here. That app, she has the app that connects when she's close enough to her pacemaker, her phone. 2:28 is when the data, I guess, stops recording. What will that data tell us? Will that data tell us if she is alive or not when at the moment that it disconnects?
I mean, it's really good to be here with you and to do what I can to help in this such a challenging case.
Okay, I'm confused. As far as I know, with everything I've read and heard, there has been no information given about any results in DNA. They said today, as far as I've seen, that there was a male DNA found on the inside of the glove. So let me do this. Give me a split second. Trying to find it. All right, here's the current information that I have found. Now, once again, I do not declare this gospel truth, y'all. Okay? I do not declare this gospel truth. This is only what I have found. Okay? Investigators recovered a glove, and that was about 2 miles from Nancy's home. Testing has revealed DNA from an unknown male. The DNA does not match Nancy's, does not match anybody in her family, does not match anyone known to the investigators so far. This is the strongest forensic lead in the case right now. The glove matches the one in the doorbell footage and found by the masked individual seen tampering with Nancy's security camera in the morning she disappeared. This is why investigators are treating the glove as directly connected to suspect. Now, it very well may be a same type of glove, but it may not be the glove that the suspect wore. Until they know otherwise, they're treating it as it is. DNA found in her home. There was DNA found in her home that belongs to nobody that Nancy knows or herself or anybody who was close to her. This indicate DNA recovered from the area investigators believe were involved in the abduction. They have not released whose DNA it might match, if they have found a match. Whether the match is now that's the question. The DNA in the house, does it match to the glove? They've not given that information yet, and whether it belongs to one or more individuals. No confirmed suspect match yet, and that's where they are on that. But they are treating it until they know otherwise, as if it is a high potential for suspect. Okay. Just so you know, Long Crime has a thing up that said, how would you vote, guilty or not guilty? 32% guilty, 68% not guilty. We had our vote and it was totally a different vote. So depends on in there. So I hope that helped you, Valora. Did I say it right? I hope that helped you. Thank you so much for joining us. But I do understand them treating it as they are. It's always treated as is until you know that it's not, because if you treat it as it's not and it was, you can lose evidence. Just saying. Okay, let's continue. Thanks for the question.
Unfortunately, the data that is transmitted from the pacemaker to the app is quite limited. As you can imagine, there are a lot of sensitivities around security, but also battery life. So the manufacturers are very careful about minimizing the amount of data that is transmitted to these apps, mainly because we don't want to overtax and drain battery from these pacemakers. So when the pacemaker connects with the application, and it does so about once a day, it only transmits pretty basic information like battery life, but it does not necessarily transmit information such as an ECG or heart rate or anything like that. Every 3 months or so, it does a much bigger data transmission with a lot more detailed information that then goes to the clinician. But what gets stored in the app itself is quite limited.
So from your perspective, there's not going to be any way to determine whether or not she was alive. There certainly wouldn't be a way to tell whether or not she was sleeping and then she woke up. I think a lot of people are thinking it's like an Apple Watch and it gives you all this data. That's just not the case, is what you're telling us.
It's just not the case. It's not like an Apple Watch where every few seconds or minutes you have a heart rate that's recorded via light sensors in the back of your Apple Watch that then get transmitted to your phone and get stored in your application, in your health application there. This is very different. This is really meant, the daily checks that are done in these communications between the pacemaker and the phone are really meant to alert patients and their clinicians if there's, say, a very dangerous heart rhythm or something malfunctioning with the device. So these emergency alerts can get sort of transmitted, but vital information like heart rate is not transmitted, and it's not that if you have this application, you can't just look at the application and see what the pacemaker has been measuring on a minute-by-minute basis.
Okay. Now, how about someone who has a pacemaker? Are there certain medications that you need to take to stay alive, or are there medications that you take sort of to help everything work better and prevent bad things from happening?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, a lot of patients who have pacemakers have a lot of other medical conditions, things like high blood pressure or problems in the arteries around their heart, things like that. But the pacemaker is really designed to function on its own. So typically somebody who has a very slow heartbeat needs a pacemaker so that it can stimulate the heart to beat a little bit faster or beat normally. But there are no medications that are required for the pacemaker to work. It can just work independently. It doesn't need to be connected to the application or a smartphone, and it doesn't need other medications to work properly.
And one final question, Dr. Perez. What would be your biggest concern if you were her doctor and knowing that she has a pacemaker and she may be being held against her will in conditions that are not great, and she's 84 years old? What would be your biggest concerns?
Well, certainly if there was some kind of pacemaker malfunction, if she relied very, very heavily on the stimulating activity of the pacemaker and the pacemaker stopped functioning well, then we wouldn't be able to get any alerts or information like that to let the patient know that there's something wrong. And certainly if there are other cardiovascular medications that she needs, not necessarily for the function of the pacemaker, but that may be related to her heart in other ways. I mean, I would be most concerned about that.
All right, Dr. Marco Perez, Associate Professor of Medicine, Stanford University. I've been away from the farm for a long time, but I've got to get back out there. And if I do, I'm going to come by and see Dr. Perez. Thanks so much.
Yeah, knock on our door.
Beat Cal.
Great to see you.
Beat Cal. All right, still to come. Is there enough evidence to solve this case right now?
That's a good question. And see what I mean by the blood drops? There wasn't like dragging feet through blood and blood just spewed everywhere. So I was hoping she was alive. Why do I have sound? Come on. There we go.
84-year-old Nancy Guthrie failed to show up at a church service on Sunday morning. Worry quickly escalated into a criminal investigation. The mother of Today's Show anchor Savannah Guthrie was last seen around 9:45 p.m. Saturday, January 31st at her home in the Catalina foothills north of Tucson. By midday Sunday, relatives who found no sign of her inside contacted authorities. Investigators soon declared the residence a crime scene, saying the evidence strongly suggests Nancy did not leave on her own and was likely taken against her will. Blood confirmed to be hers was discovered on the front porch. Authorities have also said security cameras and digital monitoring connected to her pacemaker were disabled around the time she disappeared. Now the FBI has joined the case and recovered previously lost images of a possible suspect. With those new leads in hand, the search for Nancy and the person responsible has intensified dramatically. As we watch this play out in real time, right? And new developments each day, each hour, you have to take a moment to kind of just stop and just take a look. And all right, what exactly do we have here? I want to bring in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Let's go through a list of the evidence that we know about, Cody.
Yeah, Vinny, it's starting to become a lengthy list, and we'll begin with the blood spatter on the front steps of Nancy Guthrie's house. Of course, we see it there on the video that the samples of that blood spatter were sent off for DNA testing. It came back as a match, confirmed to be Nancy's. But the interesting thing about the blood spatter, Vinny, is that police say no blood was found anywhere else inside the house or outside the house, just in that one spot near the front door. But then, Vinny, we move on. We have this image obtained by the New York Post showing a black glove found 1.5 miles away from the home. Now, there were reports we saw swirling around about a glove found inside the house, but that has since been reported to be debunked. But now they say this glove here that was found away from the home, they say that glove resembles the pair worn by a masked man who is suspected of abducting Nancy. So that brings us to a video of that masked man. Video put out by the FBI caught on Nancy's doorbell camera. And in this video, we see he has those black gloves on. He has a gun, a backpack full of who knows what, trying to cover the doorbell camera there, clearly up to no good on this 84-year-old woman's property. And Vinny, speaking of that doorbell camera, watching footage of it, if we look back at the video here of the blood, we come up, we pan the camera up there. You see there next to the door, that's where the doorbell camera should be, but it's missing. The doorbell camera is gone. We don't know where it is, who has it, but is not there where it was before. Now, based on the video we saw on the doorbell camera, Vinny, the FBI did release a suspect description based on analysis of that video. They say the person is a male, approximately 5'9", 5'10", average build, wearing a 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker backpack, a very specific backpack that they outlined in that description. We're seeing images of it there now. Pretty large backpack, a lot of space to fill, and he came there with the full backpack at odd hours of the night. But Vinny, the latest, we now have a professional sketch of what the suspect may look like under that mask as well. Dark hair, facial hair, looks like a goatee. You know, in that video, you could see through the mouth hole on the mask. You probably see some, facial hair poking through that on the mask. But Vinny, one of the most crucial parts of this investigation, there's also been multiple ransom letters sent to local media outlets there in Tucson, to national media outlets. Take a listen to FBI officials talking about those ransom letters.
There have been, as far as we know, I think 3 ransom notes so far, 1 arrest. Are they all different? Do you think there's different authors behind all of them, or?
So the one that went to the media is the one we are currently investigating and working on. The imposter that I talked about, where an arrest was made early this morning, that there will be more information. We believe there's no evidence to connect this to Nancy's case. It was someone that was trying to profit from it, a total imposter.
So, Vinny, that press conference was from February 5th, and we know there has since been more letters sent out to local outlets, making more demands, millions in Bitcoin specifically. He talked about an imposter arrested for trying to take advantage of the Guthrie family's pain right now. So demands being made, deadlines being passed in these ransom letters, but still no sign of Nancy Guthrie.
Yes, but a lot of evidence piling up. And obviously that evidence, including some DNA that was sent down to the lab, being analyzed. I'm sure they're analyzing the glove, looking through records for the backpacks. So with the evidence in hand, it brings us to the next question in our investigation. Is there enough evidence to solve this case right now? Like the evidence they have now, with some analysis of that evidence, is that going to be enough to lead to an arrest? Joining me, host of the Hidden True Crime podcast and YouTube channel, Lauren Mathias is with us, and still with us, private investigator Bill Stanton. Bill, I'll begin with you. What are your thoughts here? Do they just need to analyze the evidence they have and follow up on the evidence they have, or do you think they need to find more evidence to solve this case?
Well, first thing, we only know what we're told and what we've seen that's in the public ether. I got to believe there's a certain percentage that we're not knowing. Now, to answer your question, I absolutely believe there's enough information out there, and your viewers all over this country that may have a link to add to the evidence already gathered. So I do believe there's enough intel. Now, there's the case and there's the management of the case and the synergy, meaning the FBI needs to play nice with the sheriff's office, vice versa. I think the citizens of Tucson and the press, we all need to focus to catch this perpetrator and bring Mrs. Guthrie home alive.
Lauren Mathias, you have covered many of these ongoing investigations, and you've seen in the past what it takes to finally lead to an arrest. Sometimes it takes a lot of years, like in Delphi. Other cases, it takes months, like in Idaho 4. What are your thoughts now, based upon what we've learned and what we've observed and see play out there? Do you think they have what they're going to need here to get to an arrest?
You know, Vinny, I think they do. It's interesting that you actually brought up Delphi, because those 2 little girls went missing 9 years ago today. And the biggest evidence in that case was the video of Bridge Guy. Everybody knows.
Y'all, look who it is. That's all I'm going to say. Don't you dare come after me.
bridge guy. They essentially, that was the biggest piece of evidence taken by, Abby and Libby themselves. And we have now Nest Cam of this person or one of the people, right? There's persons of interest out there. We don't know how many people are involved, but we've seen one. Then we've learned today that there is actually DNA inside the house.
Nope. I do not want to get into an argument. Nope, Rachel. Nope, I'm not getting into the drama. We're going to just move on past it, okay? I am not going to get in the drama.
On that
okay?
porch, do you think there's a chance this is?
I got to be honest. I don't know much about the drama. I don't know anybody in the drama. I just know there's drama. And I don't want to be involved. I'm not in it. But I understand some people
Some
don't
sort
like
of
it.
a
So
career criminal with a rap sheet whose DNA
Took me a
would be in the
minute to
database,
understand who it
or do you
was.
think it may take genetic genealogy to track this guy down?
I'm gonna split the difference with you, Vinny. I don't think he's the sole assailant. I think he's the hired lackey. I think there was more than one person. I think it was targeted. It wasn't random. And I don't think he has the physicality to take a person, carry them, put them in the car, manage them. I just don't see it happening. So I think he's a low-level thug, may have minor, probably DUIs, some thefts, and whoever's behind it hired him or went in partners with this individual to do part of the dirty work.
Yeah, Lauren, I agree with Bill on that. I've been thinking that since we've seen the video. He almost oozes being a lackey, like just the way he moves and looks and the things that he's doing. What does your gut tell you, Lauren? Do you think if this person left DNA at the scene and they identify it, do you think they're going to find it in the?
Sorry.
His whole life, right? Did a couple of like breaking and enterings, maybe took a car in his youth. And he's getting hired for this, and he's going to get the big payday. I do not think this was a contracted homicide, because why would they take the body? Why would it be done in such a manner? Why would you even be wearing a mask, if you knew the whole layout, you knew where everything was? I think this is a kidnapping, and I hope she's alive.
All right. Bill Stanton, always great to take advantage of your experience and insight. Lauren Mathias is going to stick around. Coming up next, what impact is all of this social?
Okay, so we're not going to get into it. But I want to say this for a how do I put this nicely? For a production as good as Court TV and Vinnie Politan, your videos right now, the quality suck. Please improve your quality. We are still waiting. They still have the camera on the ceiling tile or part of the ceiling. We are still waiting for the Faust. The jury is still deliberating.
Taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement.
And there have been moments throughout my career at Court TV when there are stories that just take over, not just take over, our network, but take over the news cycle. And in the world we live in now, it's social media, like we saw it in Johnny Depp, Alec Murdaugh, Idaho 4. It can be a trial. It can be an investigation. It can be the search for a killer. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, obviously everyone on not everyone, but lots of people are talking about this on social media. What sort of things are we seeing?
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's not everyone, it's close to it. We're seeing a wide array of things. We're seeing people with their own theories, people with their own conspiracies, thousands of posts. Take a look at a couple of these clips.
Where the hell is Nancy? Where the hell is Nancy?
They took Savannah Guthrie's mother? Who steals somebody's mother? There's a ransom. They really kidnapped somebody's grandma.
Where is she? Where isn't she? They know where she is. She's already been found and they're doing something else with it. And I don't know what, and I can't speak to that.
My thoughts and prayers are with Nancy Guthrie and her family. And please let me know, who do you think did this? And do you think this case gets more suspicious by the day?
New bombshell has entered the villa, and it is this man right here in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance.
It was the sister. It had to be the sister. Look at her eyes. And Tommaso? Who spells Tomas with an extra O? Think about it. Okay, where is Nancy? She is not in the septic tank. Damn it. I'm going to go find this damn lady myself.
Nancy is in her 8. What the hell y'all need with Nancy?
Benny, I think the common denominator between all of those people and the rest of the world, the answer to the question they want, where is Nancy?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Cody. Great work tonight. Appreciate it.
She could be out of country.
The final question in our investigation this hour. What impact is all this social media attention having on the case? Right? There's been no arrest. It hasn't been solved. Still with me, podcaster Lauren Mathias, and joining me, criminal defense attorney, host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Mata. All right, Lauren, ladies first. What do you think here? What's the impact on this particular case?
All right, I'm not cutting because I like Bob and I've had him on my show.
Let's talk about the positives first. This case is getting attention. And we heard there from Savannah, right? If anybody knows anything, please, someone had to have heard something. The more eyes on something, the better. It reminds me of Gabby Petito, when the world looked for Gabby Petito. And the world found Gabby Petito. It was a horrific ending, but we found her. And I think that was a time when social media really did help the investigation. Negatives, the rumor mill, people being innocently doxxed, people starting large conspiracies, maybe people being headed out to Tucson themselves and saying, I'm going to solve this. But I would say overall, it's a case that is social media is putting pressure on law enforcement to not just wonder where is Nancy, but to bring Nancy home. We want to see her safe.
Yeah, and the Gabby Petito case, was a YouTuber. It was a YouTuber's video where they spotted her van. Bob, what are your thoughts here? What impact is all this attention on social media having on this case?
It's a blessing and a curse, right? Obviously what law enforcement wants to get out to the public at large, obviously social media is incredibly helpful with that. When they get a video of a potential suspect, a likely suspect, they can get it out to the world at large. And, the hope being that somebody's gonna be like, hey, I recognize that guy's walk, his gait, the way that he picks flowers, whatever the case may be. And the hope is that leads to a tip that leads to an arrest. And, obviously the other part of it is that there are a lot of people online that can produce incredibly useful information, but that is balanced by people that are doing things that are not helpful and are frankly hurtful. Lois Gibson, she's an amazing sketch artist, probably the most accomplished in the country, and she puts out a sketch based on just this dude's eyes. Frankly, I'm kind of waiting for the feds to knock on my door. Or do I need to shave? It's like people just need to be responsible with what they're doing. And, that's always the concern. It is that blessing and a curse. It's the ability to get information out to the masses instantaneously, but with that comes a lot of problems.
We have about 20 seconds each. Lauren first, what do you think the suspect thinks of all this social media attention?
Yeah, I have to say, first off, I agree with Bob that these resources are incredible. And what do they think of this attention? It depends on who it is, right? Are they the ones sending the ransom notes and are they loving this attention? Or is all the social media attention causing people to send fake ransom notes? and disrupt this investigation? I think that's actually the ultimate question. How does the suspect like this, and is it actually helping in this case?
Bob?
Yeah, the ransom note thing is weird, right? I mean, it seems like it's kind of fallen off the map completely. You know, TMZ got somehow inserted as a major piece of this puzzle, which is bizarre. You know, ultimately how it's going to shake out, I hope that the damage that's been done doesn't cost Nancy her life.
Big thanks. Bob Mata, Laura Mathias, Hidden True Crime, and Defense Diaries. Check them out, folks. Imagine being the suspect tonight. Everyone is talking about you, and everyone is looking for you. The amazing thing about the true crime community is that they care. They want to help. They will dig.
They're hung.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Easy enough.
Come on, stick. Thank you. Do we have a verdict? I think we may have a verdict. Or we're hung. I'm getting ready to go live in the other one. Stay here. Don't go away. I just want to have a clean live. I'm waiting. What are they waiting on? Okay, Your Honor.
All right, we're on the record, and one of the jurors has requested to leave at 8 o'clock tonight, and so they are seeking permission to adjourn, which I'm certainly going to grant for them. Could you have the foreperson come out? Thank you. And let's not have the
Dang
camera on.
it!
I'm going to ask her a question at the bench. Thank you very much. I know you know
Oh,
that.
dang it. I thought we had a verdict. Somebody's bedtime, 8
Thank you for
o'clock.
your note. We're certainly going to grant your request. Any thoughts about what time? Typically we start at 9, but it's been a long day. Do you have any thoughts about what might be best for the group? Sure, absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, the judge looks tired. It's a long day, y'all. I'm tired. I've been here since 7:45 in the morning with a minimal 30-minute break. It's a long day.
Yes, ma'am.
We've been live for almost 2 hours and 45 minutes here. I was live.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you so much. I'm going to have everybody come on out with their belongings. Thank you for checking.
I was live 7 hours and 45, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, 10 and a half hours today. So yeah. Yeah, if they start it, that'll be great. But we have another trial tomorrow that starts at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah. Not fun. Not happy about it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for your patience today. I'm going to grant your request and have you go home for the evening. And the foreperson has told me that you all want to come back at 9 o'clock, which would certainly be my preference. I just wanted to check with all of you. So thank you for that. I'm going to release you. The deputies are going to escort you again to the elevator and to the parking deck. Don't discuss the case. Look on social media. Do any research. Have a nice evening. We'll see you tomorrow morning right here at 9 o'clock. When you come in, go straight into the jury room and begin your deliberations when everyone gets there. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow.
Okay, so that's it. We're done for today. We're done. Done, 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 done. Okay, our hearts, but let's get serious. Our hearts and our prayers are with the families who got involved in a fight or disagreement or something at the hockey game in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and 2 individuals and the shooter themselves are unalive, and 3 other people were harmed or injured in the incident. Thank God none of the students participating were harmed. They are all safe. And we also extend prayers and heartfelt wishes to the Guthrie, Nancy G's family. And really, this is a horrible place to be. And my heart goes out to them. But my heart goes out to my mods. Y'all have been with me all day. Thank you so much. You were rocking it. We will see you tomorrow morning for the Colin Gray trial that we started this morning. And we will be in verdict watch as well. So come join us. It is an interesting, very, I don't want to say political in the bad way, but this is going to affect policy and politics depending on how this trial comes into what happens at this trial. So come join us. It'll be interesting. In the meantime, get a great night's sleep. Love your loved ones and get some rest. See you at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, first thing in the morning. Bye. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I hope you have an awesome day. Till next time, take care.